Sue O'Connell and GBH's Adam Reilly. The Pentagon's new MAGA press crew, a new report showing teens think the media is biased and boring. I don't know, Jim. That's all I had in the 11 o'clock hour at BPR, GBH, NEPM, live from the Boston Public Library.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. The federal government shutdown is now the longest in U.S. history at 38 days. It's affecting air travel because air traffic controllers are not getting paid. Starting today, the government will begin reducing air traffic at dozens of airports because of staffing shortages. By next week, up to 10% of flights will be reduced. The chief operating officer of American Airlines, David Seymour, is urging Congress to agree on a spending bill and end the shutdown.
We need to get the government reopened. We need to get this aviation system back. And I implore our members of Congress to get together and get the government reopened so we can get back to normalcy.
He spoke to ABC's Good Morning America. The Senate may decide to hold another vote on a spending bill today that could end the shutdown. The Trump administration has appealed a judge's order to fully fund the government's food assistance program this month, despite the shutdown. The judge had told the administration to start funding the program today. The program is also known as SNAP. The ongoing lapse in federal food assistance is straining millions of Americans and the organizations trying to help make up for shortfalls. As NPR's Tovia Smith reports, many food banks and pantries are struggling to keep up with a spike in demand.
When the federal government let SNAP benefits lapse last week, pantries immediately saw more people coming and calling for help. In Boston, client advocate Juliette Smith says her pantry is already having to tell people to wait up to 2 weeks.
It's painful when someone comes in and we have to say, I just don't have anything for you today. We've never had to do that before, never.
Many state and local governments are helping to fund shortfalls and private donations are pouring in, but it's still not enough, food banks and pantries say. As one put it, they couldn't possibly make up for the failure of the federal government. Tovia Smith, NPR News, Boston.
Federal regulators are wrestling with how to handle artificial intelligence in mental health care. A panel advising the Food and Drug Administration met this week. NPR's Windsor Johnston reports panelists found that the biggest risks may be the ones they can't touch.
An FDA committee spent hours debating whether AI tools that promise therapy should fall under its oversight. Nick Jacobson, a researcher at Dartmouth University, testified that the problem is much broader. Millions of people are using unregulated chatbots for therapy.
I think the ironic part of this, frankly, is that they are not going to regulate things that are not actually making claims to mental health products.
That means widely used apps like ChatGPT are not covered by any federal safety rules, even though users often turn to them when they can't find or afford a human therapist. Jacobson says new laws may be needed to close that gap, since the FDA's authority only regulates products that market themselves as treatment. Windsor Johnston, NPR News.
This is NPR.
BH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. Logan Airport is seeing close to 40 flight cancellations today and 50 delays as the Federal Aviation Administration tries to ease the strain on air traffic controllers who've been working without pay since the government shutdown began. As we've been reporting, Logan is one of 40 airports targeted for flight reductions starting today. Many air traffic controllers have called out sick, while others have taken other jobs. In short, there's a high volume of flights and a low volume of staff. Meanwhile, one flight that's cleared for takeoff today is Air Force One. President Trump expected to jet down to Florida's Palm Beach today to spend the weekend at Mar-a-Lago. Lawmakers on Beacon Hill and at City Hall are pushing ahead with a planned overhaul of Boston's Morrissey Boulevard, which tends to flood during heavy rainfalls and king tides. The Dorchester Reporter reports the update follows the release of a final outline by the state-appointed Morrissey Boulevard Commission last month. Jonathan Gulliver, the state's highway administrator, calls the completion of the study a major step in the roadway's overhaul. A statement from Boston Mayor Wu says that redesigning and rebuilding Morrissey Boulevard is critical to improving transportation, protecting against coastal flooding, and connecting Dorchester communities to waterfront recreation and enjoyment. In sports, the Celtics are in Orlando tonight. In the forecast, partly to mostly cloudy today, high in the low 50s. Clouds and a passing shower overnight tonight, low 50. Cloudy start to tomorrow, sunny finish, high about 50 degrees. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Sony Pictures Classics with Nuremberg, a new thriller starring Russell Crowe, Rami Malek, and Michael Shannon about the historic post-World War II trial of Nazi official Hermann Göring, now playing in theaters.
He's Jim Brady. I am Marjorie Egan. You're listening to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Thank you very much. Live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. If you're here today, you're very lucky. We're going to hear some great music later in the show. We'll not be back here on Tuesday because the library is closed for Veterans Day. Mary Michelle Wu will be with us on November 18th from noon to 1. And Yo-Yo Ma, the great cellist, is going to perform right here at the library on November 19th. Hello, Jim.
Hey, two things I just wanted to say. You mentioned great music. 12:30 today, Gabrielle Goodman and her band. Spectacular. I mean, just spectacular. We heard them rehearse this morning. You don't want to miss that. On a sadder note, I'm sure you read in the Boston Globe today, 15 additional layoffs to be announced at GBH because of the mindless federal cuts. And I know Marjorie and I just wanted to say to our colleagues, we're thinking of you and anything we can do to help in the future and smooth the path.
It's unbelievably sad, as our boss Susan Goldberg said. Some of these cuts are to children's programming. Is just one of the things that's most legendary about WGBH. It's a very sad time, and that's what happens when the federal government takes away a significant chunk of your funding.
We're thinking of you guys. So we're devoting the morning to this historic government shutdown, now in day 38, the longest ever in U.S. history. The FAA, as you know, is limiting flights in and out of 40 airports across the country, including Logan. Government offices are quiet. Tomorrow will mark the 1-week anniversary of no money for the 42 million people, 1.1 million of whom are in Massachusetts, who are dependent on food assistance. Everyone is struggling to afford food, childcare, healthcare, heat, electricity, on and on. Well, actually, I'm wrong. Not everyone. Since just this week, and congratulations to him, Mr. Doge, Elon Musk, finally got approval for his mere $1 trillion contract should he meet his goals.
Can you believe it?
And the good thing is, I was really worried when I heard he got the trillion. Where is he going to celebrate? And then I realized he can obviously celebrate in the new ballroom at the White House, maybe in the bathroom, the marble bathroom off the Lincoln bedroom. So our number is 877-301-8970 to call or text. A government shutdown potpourri. If you're feeling the impact of the shutdown, whether it's flights, inability to get through with questions to a federal office, food stamps, SNAP, how are you responding? If that's a donation to your local food bank, tell us about it. Does the news make you feel totally deflated? Or you're buoyed by the fact that Trump's opponents had a pretty good Tuesday? And the question we've been asking for 37 days, how do you want to see the shutdown end? Is it time for the Democrats to, as Chuck Todd told us, I think yesterday, take a win and move on, or should they continue holding the line for the sake of health care premiums? 877-301-8970. I just want to add one thing to the introduction. We mentioned the other day when we had the governor here and the day before when we had the attorney general, courts in Rhode Island and Massachusetts, federal courts, ruled that he couldn't stop funding for SNAP because the reserves there funding, when the Rhode Island court, I think it was yesterday, said 50% is not enough.
Right.
You have an obligation to fund the whole damn thing. What's the Trump administration do? They appeal, which means more delay and people getting life-saving nutrition money.
Well, we're kind of entering into Marie Antoinette territory here.
Are.
Maybe the Russian Tsar,
Really
back when, the rich were whining and dying on fatted calves and poor people were out in the streets. I mean, that's the situation we're in. $1 trillion for Elon Musk, $350 million
$1 trillion.
for $1 trillion. $1 trillion is insane. And meanwhile, the Trump administration is appealing food for people who are poor and desperate. And, many of, if not more than half of these people are children, children. And so this is the United States of America, and that's what we're doing. And thank God people are being generous and opening up their wallets. But it's not enough. You can't make up the money
even close to enough.
From the federal
government. By the way,
government.
just so you know, when Margie says not enough, Massachusetts receives, we discussed this with the governor the other day, $240 million a month. Even if Trump had funded half, that's $120 million, and the governor added $4 million to the pot, which means it's still $116 million short. So the notion that any state can bail out, or private donations, as wonderful as they are, can bail it out, is spurious.
And
it's
I just
ridiculous.
have to point out, because the hypocrisy just kills me. So many of the Republicans are wearing their religion on their sleeves. They're very serious Christians. They're very serious Christians.
Here she goes with the crosses.
Well, it's not just the crosses. It's this, you can't be supporting, $1 trillion for Elon Musk, $350 ballroom, gold leaf everywhere, and screwing poor people and claim that you're a Christian. It just doesn't work, because the poor is a big part of the problem there for Jesus Christ, as we may have recalled.
So can we go from the huge and consequential to the sort of less consequential but not unimportant? You know a couple of people that are not leaving town anytime
Well, I was talking
soon.
to someone who shall not be named across the street at the Lenox today that was ready to go on a little trip with one of his children.
Father-daughter
Father-daughter deal. He's not going to be able to go because his flight was canceled, and he had a prospect of hanging around the airport, for hours and hours with a little kid. He decided that wasn't very good. One of my closest friends was heading out. She that I've known for years from the Cape. She was heading out to California, all set to go 5:15 in the morning. Flight is canceled. She's now she doesn't know when she's going to go. She spent hours on the phone trying to rearrange her flight. And one of my kids, who was coming back from Atlanta, thank goodness she got on an airplane, but she was waiting, and flight was delayed, and finally they took off. But that was last night. Things are really going to hit the fan this weekend. So it's a big deal.
Well, by the way, again, it's not as catastrophic missing a flight. I'm not belittling it as obviously not getting SNAP benefits. Jeremy Siegel, our colleague, did a great piece on the station this morning that included an interview he did with a 90-year-old, I think, Australian woman who was going home to Australia to celebrate her 90th birthday, and she's got to cancel the trip. I mean, again, not the most tragic thing, but totally unnecessary. In any case, you want to know if it's affecting you, the shutdown on day 38, whether it is or not. Are you trying to do anything to ameliorate the damage being done by this? And you can tell us who you think are the bad guys and if there are good guys in all this. 877-301-8970 is the number.
A texter says that a lot of the airports were in Democratic states. I'm not sure if that's true. Atlanta certainly isn't a Democratic state. That's a Republican state. So I don't think it's
I don't think
particularly targeted at Democratic states. But we'll check into that if there's any sense that it's just Democratic cities where this is happening. Certainly Boston is a Democratic city, and it's happening at Logan.
877-301-8970. Let's go to the calls. Ann in Lincoln, you would be first on BPR. Welcome to the show. Hi.
Oh, hi, Jim and Marjorie. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Maybe Jim, being your lawyer background.
Well, not really, but go ahead.
But I've been wondering why the airport entities such as Massport can't just pay all the air traffic controllers on a temporary basis, put them on their payroll, get them paid, and keep the country flying. Can
I tell you something, man? My alleged legal background helps me not at all to answer your question. I swear to you, I'm driving in this morning. We invited Rich Davey on the show, the head of Massport. He's just too busy today to join us for obvious reasons. I was thinking the exact same thing. Why can't they do it to show? He's done a lot of things, from the therapy dogs to the music to whatever, to show that they're a caring operation. These people are going without pay. Not just whoever they are. That's a wonderful idea. And we will communicate that to Rich and see if we can get an answer for you by Monday. Thanks for the call.
Jamie's pointing out that a lot of the cities are democratically run cities, but they're also big hubs, L.A., New York, Boston, Chicago. Atlanta is not a Democrat. Well, I don't know. Maybe who's the mayor of Atlanta?
I think it's a Democrat.
Yeah,
I don't know who
so
it is.
It could be.
But that's not that's where the major flights go.
Well, that's what Jamie was just saying. Those are the major flights. We have a long list of all the places right there.
Well, let's not read them.
I'm not going to.
Okay, good.
You sure you don't want me to read them, Jim?
No, I was worried.
They're
Jamie
alphabetical.
No,
they're in alphabetical order.
Okay, knowing you, why don't you read 100 airports?
It's okay.
It's actually only 40.
Yeah, but Dallas is on there, too. I don't think there's a Democratic mayor of Dallas.
I think there might be, actually.
Really?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Let's get off this topic.
Pretty well.
Adam in Boston.
You read 10, I'll read 10. You read... Let's go.
Adam in Boston.
Hey, Adam. What's up?
Thank you for calling.
Hi there.
Hi there.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
So I'm on the national do not call list, as a lot of people are. And so when I receive a telemarketing call, I pick up and I say, what is your legal company name and what is your legal mailing address?
Ooh.
Usually that,
wow.
It usually screws with people and they hang up the phone. And so this guy was like, I'll have to give you that. And I was like, and then I have on my phone the actual text. And I say, by refusing to give me your legal mailing address is a violation of the FTC's marketing sales rule. And he said, what are you going to do? The government's not working. Like, what are you going to do? Blah, 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 blah. And so this was like a really small thing, but it got me thinking, which is when the federal government isn't working, even these small little rules, like, who's going to enforce the law? Like, these are things that we have in place to protect us. And, like, is this just a canary in the coal mine thing? Like, I don't know what this is going to lead to. These small little
I love this. A showdown with a telemarketer.
Well, you know, Adam, I don't know if you were listening yesterday. We're talking about the back and forth between our Attorney General in Massachusetts, Andrea Joy Campbell, and Leah Foley, the U.S. Attorney. We wrote to the U.S. Attorney and invited her to present her side of the thing, and we got an automated response saying we're not answering any inquiries from the media about anything until the shutdown is over. So that's a wonderful point. Small things you might not think about are affected. And by the way, if someone's got a Social Security issue, you want to call them, I'm guessing either nobody's answering the phone or the waits are more interminable than they were before. Adam, that was a great point. Thanks for making the call. We appreciate it.
Here's Linda from Warwick. I'd like to book a one-way ticket out of here if I could find a flight. So sick of what's happening here.
Did you see the story this morning? Two-thirds of young people thinking of leaving the country?
I know. Yeah, they're not happy.
If I could pick the young people, I'd be fine with that. But not two-thirds.
Jean in Newburyport, thank you for calling.
Hello, Jean.
Hi, good morning.
To you too.
I would like to shut down to continue until people understand that the long-term impact on our health.
Wait, we're losing. You got to say that again. You like to shut down what?
To continue.
Oh, okay.
Even though I'm very upset at people who are suffering about that. But the long-term threat to our healthcare system.
I think, Gene, we gotta let you go. The connection's bad. I think the point that Gene's making, and if I'm wrong, Gene, if you're listening, call us right back from a better spot, that the healthcare thing is so important. And I'll repeat what I've said ad nauseum. 77% of the people who are dependent on healthcare subsidies to pay Obamacare premiums live in states won by Donald Trump. So one must assume that the Republicans are getting a little antsy here, because apparently, you read the story this morning, supposedly more Democrats are willing to do something based on a promise. More Democrats in the Senate based on a promise, not anything concrete like Governor Healy or Senator Markey said they wanted.
I think that's a bad idea.
I think it's a really bad idea.
Yeah, because they're not going to. That's one of the problems here. You can't trust your compatriots there across the aisle in Congress anymore.
So one of our young colleagues, when I said I want to pick who would leave, he says, we want to leave, Jim. You don't have to pick us. So there you are, 877-301-8097. Can you imagine, by the way, can you imagine somebody, if you read the food stamp stories, I hope people are reading the SNAP stories in the paper, you read the stories and how dependent, this is not a luxury thing, I'll eat better. In many cases, it's an eat-it-all thing as opposed to pay your rent or buy drugs, your meds or whatever it is.
And a lot of these people are working.
Right.
And they're working full time.
And it's not just 7 days.
And they still qualify. They're so ill-paid.
You know what's worse, I think, about the 7-day thing? And this is day 7, obviously everybody knows that it started Saturday, is you have no idea when it's going to end. You might say, maybe I can figure out how to borrow or do whatever I got to do, hopefully, if I knew tomorrow's the last day. It might not be tomorrow, it might not be a week, it could be today. So the uncertainty, and the fact, I'm sorry to repeat this again, the fact that the Trump administration is deciding to appeal this thing when the judge, I think it's the Massachusetts judge, McConnell, I hope I have the name right.
It was Rhode Island?
No, the Rhode Island judge ordered pay the whole thing, but I think it was the Massachusetts judge last week who said, You said Trump in his tweet said, "I'd be honored," capital letters, to pay this before they decided to appeal this thing. He identified and give us a legal pathway to do this. Trump said, "Well, this judge identified a $23 billion fund, some agriculture something, which he was free to draw money from, and he chose not to do it." It's really grotesque.
Also, I mean, I think this is part of what happened in the election last week. You know, we don't have the jobs Friday won't be happening because the government shut down.
Right.
There's official, but if they did, they were saying that there's other ways to measure what the job market would have been like, and they talked about another decline of 60,000 jobs, unemployment rate increased to 4.5%. You know, I think part of this is why the Democrats won big last week. All those thousands of people fired in Virginia, you know, from the federal government, they've lost their jobs. It's a difficult time now to find new jobs. We talked about yesterday people holding on to jobs they don't like because they're worried about the bad job market. So you get that picture. You get all the other things that he's shut down, the research grants, all these people who have lost their money, taking away jobs all over the place. Talk about these wind farms, places where people are making good wages, shut those down. And meanwhile, you know, you're building the ballroom. You got Elon Musk with his $1 trillion salary. Listen to this. This is a sobering text. Jess says, maybe Musk can celebrate by his $1 trillion salary by dancing on the graves of the hundreds of thousands of people killed by USAID. That was the first thing he shut down. And we don't talk much about that, but it is true that children have been starving in these countries that we use to support.
Vaccines.
HIV is rampant, that kind of stuff. So USAID, American money leaving that is really. So I think that there's an immorality there that's just so blatant that I think, you know, people are turning on this. It makes you feel kind of creepy to think you're funding Gold Leaf and not funding
but doesn't it make you
food?
feel good if you're right? If your analysis about Tuesday is that it's not just about the economy, it's about, you, as you've said on the air a couple of times, it's also about seeing an image of a mother having her face smashed into the cement by masked ICE people. It makes you feel.
Well, I mean, I would imagine that is
hopeful.
at least part of what the change in Latino voters is. I can imagine if you saw people that you know are part of your neighborhood or think of yourself when you first came to this country 10, 20, 50 years ago, whatever it was, that could have happened to you.
Read this, Dave from Shrewsbury. How come the government, this is a text, how come the government can afford to pay all the ICE agents currently do immigration raids, but can't pay the air traffic controllers? That's a pretty good point, by the way.
Well,
David,
I think part of this is they figure the air traffic controllers is what stopped the first government shutdown in the first Trump administration, which used to be our longest government shutdown before this one. So those have been our two big, long government shutdowns. Have been the Trump administration.
David in the car, you're next on BPR. Hi.
Hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
So I talked to Medicare on Wednesday.
Oh.
A lovely woman who was very helpful. Her name was Danielle until she started talking to herself and then said, "Oh, Michelle, don't do that." But turns out when we thanked her for being there, she said, "We are here 24/7. So at least someone's working in the government.
Well, as I said,
I don't know anyone in the Justice Department either.
I would say that even if Danielle or Michelle or whoever is working, I'm guessing.
Yeah, exactly.
I am guessing that it takes a hell of a lot more time to get through if you've got a pretty critical question. I guess you were lucky enough to get there, but I would assume there are fewer people who are available because they're not seen as essential workers. David, thanks for the call. We appreciate it.
Lynn Rentham is also talking about people being annoyed by the billions and billions of dollars going to Argentina at this particular moment, too. And the military, I believe, is being funded at this point.
I don't know. No, they ordered it. Could you guys check this, please? Trump has talked repeatedly, as has the wonderful Secretary of War, Hegseth, said they're paying the military. I don't think it's happened yet, but I could be wrong. Just let us know. Let's go to Tim in a car. Hi, Tim.
Hi, guys. Nice talking to you. Listen, I just have a couple questions and a point to make. The point to make is that we never had a government shutdown till 1982.
Is that so?
And the first one was 1 day.
Yeah.
Because back then, Tip O'Neill and whoever was the Republican leader knew how to do this thing called compromise. But anyways, that said, another little factoid that I'm interested in your opinion, or maybe you have an answer to. I'm pretty sure that we never shut off food stamps in any of the previous government shutdowns.
I believe that is correct.
And I want to know why the government has done that this time, and just like everybody else has called or texted, why are the air traffic controllers not getting paid and the military is?
Tim, I bet you can answer. I bet you can answer your own question about SNAP benefits. Why would a caring soul like Donald Trump want to be the first to cut off SNAP benefits for low and moderate income people? I mean, is it not fairly obvious?
I understand it. Why isn't he being crucified about it?
Well, I think
Tim, the Republican
a vicious psychopath.
Yeah, the Republican Congress has gone along with his. You've heard about the big beautiful bill. I mean, that was all to give tax breaks to people that are at least in the middle class, or mostly the money's going to go to people that are very, very wealthy. And to do that, they're cutting out health care for the poor and now food for the poor. I mean, there was going to be cuts to SNAP anyway in the big, beautiful bill.
And there still will be, by the way.
So obviously the GOP thinks that people like Elon Musk and the billionaires and the millionaires need tax breaks, and poor people are going to have to pay. That's what's happened since he came back to office.
And the
so
other
this
reason
is a continuation of
he
it.
thinks because while he doesn't care about poor people, the Democrats do, and he thought the Democrats would fold more quickly. Tim, thanks for the call. Military Times says amid the ongoing shutdown, men and women serving the armed forces were still paid on their scheduled October 15th and November 1st payday. So there you go. We got to take a break, Marjorie.
Okay, we're going to take a break. We're talking about the government shutdown. When do you think it will end? How do you think it will end? Are you impacted by these airline changes? And what do you think about the fact that even though 2 judges have ordered the president to fund SNAP food for poor people, he's stalling on it? You're listening to GBH 89.7, broadcasting from the Boston Public Library.
The Kyoto Protocol was a landmark international treaty that got most UN member states to acknowledge climate change and set goals to reduce emissions. A play dramatizing the deal-making behind it just debuted in the U.S.
The set is designed as a sort of UN table, and we wanted to invite audiences to take a seat at the table.
That story, next time on The World.
This afternoon at 3, here on GBH News 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you. And MIT Federal Credit Union, offering a variety of certificate options to help members build emergency funds, plan for retirement, or save for the future. Learn more at mitfcu.org, federally insured by NCUA.
And UMass Lowell, ranked /1 best value public university in Massachusetts by the Wall Street Journal and U.S. News & World Report. Learn more at uml.edu/rankings.
Welcome back to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy, live at the library, streaming youtube.com/GBHs. We're not here Tuesday at the library because it's closed for Veterans Day. Before we get back to our shutdown topic, which seems to be a regular feature on our show now, Marjorie, what am I holding?
Oh, a box of Dunkin' Donuts.
Now, if you were listening yesterday at 1:30, Am I the A-hole was about cutting donuts in half. Obviously, Howie over there, raise your hand, Howie, was listening. He didn't just bring us donuts. He brought us donuts cut in half. Let's hear it for Howie over there.
Thank you, Howie.
You're our guy. We love you, Howie. Thank you. We are talking about the shutdown and the juxtaposition on one hand, 42 million people losing SNAP benefits, other government services suffering or shut down, right at the time when Elon Musk gets a $1 trillion contract from his Tesla board and Trump gets his gilded ballroom. And people should stop saying for $300 million, it ain't costing $300 million.
It's already up to $350.
Oh, is it up to $350? Oh, I didn't even know that. Okay.
Yeah.
877-301-8970. Mike, you're in Framingham. Welcome.
Hey, thanks a lot.
Sure.
This is very frustrating, to be honest with you. It's, I'm getting an echo. So
I know.
Sorry.
It's our fault, but we hear you fine. I'm sorry about that. Go ahead.
Okay, no problem. So here's my complaint, or my fear. The Democrats fought the Republicans right up till they passed this, or up till they passed their big, ugly bill. And the Republicans wouldn't give in. They wanted to take the subsidies away from the states. Now, if the Democrats sign on to a promise or commit to passing the spending resolution, then what they'll do is the Republicans will put them in a trap. They won't negotiate the subsidies back, and they'll say that the Democrats signed on to this, and it was a bipartisan bill.
I agree completely.
So the Democrats, they need to stick to their guns and say, we are not going to take health care away from people so you can give tax breaks to the wealthy.
Mike, that should be...
They got to stick to that talking point.
Well, you're totally right, and Marjorie is of the opinion not only should they say that, but they need somebody else saying it rather than Chuck Schumer or Hakeem Jeffries, who, as you may know, she's not totally enamored of.
Wouldn't even say who he voted for in the mayor's race in New York City. Isn't that a problem?
Well, he also didn't endorse him, but then he praised his election victory. So talk about having it both ways. By the way, Kelly E. in Austin, Texas, texts and says, an uber-wealthy donor gave money to pay for military checks, so much for nonpartisan military. I think he did give $100 and some million, but that obviously didn't meet the whole payroll, but you are totally right,
You know, we're getting a lot of text messages from people who point out that SNAP benefits also go to a lot of elderly people who qualify for them, and disabled people, veterans that need SNAP assistance, and foster parents who take in kids with nowhere else to go because there's such disruption in their own families, and that's incredible.
Well, add to the list what you said 20 minutes ago, and people who have jobs, who are working, but don't make enough money to feed their families.
Well, someone just texted the federal minimum wage is still, I believe, $7. So when you're making $7 an hour, what's that times 40, Jim?
Not enough is what it is.
Not enough.
$280 a week.
$280 a week.
You could have done that yourself.
$280 a week.
That's before taxes. Well, actually, they may not pay much in taxes.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a lot of calls and not much time. Hector in Boston, hello.
Hi, Jim and Marjorie. I just wanted to kind of get your input. I just started tuning in again. I am back. I just quit my job with TSA, actually.
Oh.
And it's due to the shutdown. It was a good excuse to leave. I was already unhappy there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just kind of wanted to see your perspective on like how long it's going to last, or what the deal is. It seems very unpromising for most Americans nowadays. So I just kind of want to see.
I wish. Maybe Marjorie can. I don't have any idea
Hector,
either.
I don't know. I can't imagine. You know what I think? That the uproar is going to be so big around Thanksgiving.
With the flights.
The air traffic control situation. It's a long time, but I don't. I mean, it's 3 weeks.
3 weeks from yesterday.
Yeah. But Hector, I'm sorry, I have no idea. I don't know.
No, I don't think anybody really does. And I have to say, if you're a betting person, despite what most callers to the show hope for, it sounds like a growing number of Democrats would cut a deal based on a promise. But I think most of the people with whom we speak think a promise would be a fool's errand kind of thing. Hector, we wish you luck, and sorry we can't answer any better than we did. 877-301-8970 is the number.
Do you want to try to squeeze in one more call here?
Let's do it.
Let's go to Matt in Rhode Island. Hi, Matt.
Hello, Matt.
Hi, my second time getting on onto your program.
Thank you.
But I worked in hospice care for 22 years, so I work with a lot of seniors. I work with a lot of nursing homes in Rhode Island. I also work in real estate for the last 3 years. So I just want to point out to people, because people still keep getting focused on this shutdown, that, well, we don't want to give money to the immigrants, and you're taking all our money away. I just want people to really understand that I work with immigrants for the last 22 years in nursing homes. Most of them are taking care of our seniors for a very small amount of money, and all they want to do is provide food. And I just want people to realize they paid in over $496 billion into a system that they do not benefit from. They do not get Social Security. They do not get Medicare. And they take about 0.5% of the Medicaid budget, which is why they have to fight this. They cannot give in this fight, because it's going to cost us as taxpayers and citizens a lot more money if we don't continue to fight this. We have to change it, because if you get sick, you're really going to have a hard time when you're elderly, depending on food stamps and Medicaid to provide you care.
That was perfectly said, Matt.
You.
Thanks
Thank
for the call.
you very much.
And by the way, despite the fact that you hear Mike Johnson lying almost daily about saying the Democrats' position on the health care premiums is all about undocumented people, the law prohibits spending of federal tax dollars for that. So he's making it up like they are wont to do.
He is really a sad guy, isn't he?
He is a sad. Do you know what I learned the other day from a common friend of ours? We'll talk more about this in the days ahead. He and his son have porn trackers on their phone. This is true. So I looked it up to make sure it's true. The father will know if the kid's looking at porn. The kid will know if the father's looking at porn. And so far, so good. And I don't know what so good means, but so
Maybe
far,
he'd be
so
better
good.
off if he was looking at more porn.
Porn trackers.
Okay, that's all the time we have. Thank you very much for calling. Quick break. We're going to have our Friday media analysis segment, Press Play, with GBH's Adam Reilly and NBC 10 Boston's Sue O'Connell. We're going to talk about a lot of things having to do with the press. We're right back, BPR, GBH, NEPM, live from the Boston Public Library.
I'm Jared Bowen. Coming up on The Culture Show, the Grammy nominations are out and covers take on a new meaning. For the first time in 50 years, they're awarding Outstanding Album Art. Plus, Bridgerton's Jonathan Bailey takes the crown. People magazine anoints him the sexiest man alive. And Tom Brady is calling a wild new play, cloning his late dog for a perfect genetic comeback. That and more on The Culture Show's Week in Review. That's today at 2 on 89.7 GBH.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And Xfinity, delivering smart Wi-Fi, mobile, home security, and entertainment. Proud sponsor of GBH Jazz Night with Lihi Haruvi, an in-person event, November 13th at 5:30 at the Boston Public Library. And Boston Ballet, presenting George Balanchine's Jewels, showcasing 3 distinct styles of neoclassical ballet in one brilliant program. Now on stage through November 16th at Citizens Opera House. Tickets at bostonballet.org.
I think we're back. Welcome back to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Jim Browdy and Marjorie Egan, live at the library, streaming youtube.com/GBH News. No Tuesday at the library because of Veterans Day. Mayor Wu joins us here noon to 1 on the 18th. Yo-Yo Ma joins us to play and talk on the 19th. It's now time for Friday media analysis segment called Press Play. Here with us at the interview desk is local woman Sue O'Connell, co-publisher. Everybody asks, not everybody, a lot of people ask me, why do you call her local woman? My response is, Google it.
Google it, babies.
Local woman Sue O'Connell, co-publisher, Bay Windows and the South End News, commentator. The question we ask is, why do we call her news influencer? Because that's what she is.
Almost
NBC
about
10
to have
Boston.
100,000 TikTok followers.
Is that true?
Yes, indeed. I started with 30 in January.
100,000 losers on
Yes,
one account.
on
That's
the
amazing.
TikTok, on the tickety
And here
Thank
also,
you. Look at,
that's
thank you.
one of the losers
That's
applauding
very
right now.
Impressive.
Also here, who I think has no followers on TikTok, I
Zero.
hope.
That's
exactly right,
Is that
yeah.
correct? GBH News politics reporter Adam Reilly. Adam, it's great to see you. And you, Sue. Thanks so much.
I also appreciate that Adam brought the papers, so I
So
don't
you can
have to
actually
look at
read
my
the stuff?
phone. I can cheat from him as I've been doing since our long career together at the start at the Boston Phoenix.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay, let me tell you something. I read
Marjorie
this,
has no idea.
I read this story and it just put me over the
Okay.
top. That those of us who do what we do, we're biased, we're boring, we're bad, we're lying, we don't get any of the facts right.
Mhm.
I mean, these are teenagers in America, apparently, according to the News Literary Project. That's what U.S. teens think about what we do for a living.
So I'm gonna quote Jay Severin here.
He's dead.
I know, that's why I'm going to quote him because he
Okay.
can't correct me if I get it wrong. Compared to what?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think all of us probably paid a lot of attention to the news in high school, and that's how we ended up here. But I can guarantee you in Revere,
I didn't.
between 1976 and 1980, not a lot of people I was going to high school with were paying a lot of attention to the news, right? So I think it's a great idea that we're asking them. And I think it's important to differentiate between, I'm always saying...
Will they please differentiate? They never differentiate. Are you talking about cable TV? You're talking about your local news? You're talking about your local newspaper?
I'll tell you what they are
never
talking
differentiate.
about. You say compared to what? There is an answer, unfortunately, compared to social media, where they're saying that is where, if they get news at all, that's the primary source.
But what was there before? They just had gossip, and they just talked about things. So I don't know that teenagers ever really cared about you don't really start caring about these things unless you end up doing what we do.
I had the same reaction as you. I kind of lost it when I read this study.
Ask them what they've read lately.
You look at the word cloud of what teens had to say.
I love word clouds.
That's exactly sort of where I was coming from. The word cloud, the big words, biased, crazy, fake, boring. 51% think that we pay or do favors for sources. 60% think that we take photos and videos out of context. And I want to know more. I want to know where they got these ideas. I want a focus group.
Don't you remember? You work for newspapers for a long time.
Yep.
What happens if you make a bad mistake in the newspaper? You get sued, correct? You get sued.
You can get sued.
Yes.
They don't think we correct our mistakes also.
They never did.
So I wanted this cries out for more questions. I want to see all these damn kids who have these harebrained thoughts.
That's right.
I want to see them sat down and grilled about where they got these ideas.
Yeah, I would like to ask them too.
Well, a lot of this is projection too, I think. Because
don't look at his notes, will you please?
Well, no, it's very pretty. It's fake, boring.
Sue's cheating.
This is how I got through. This is how I got to where I am today. I do the minimum amount of work for the biggest payoff, and I knew Adam was going to be here.
You're right about teenagers reading the paper. I never read the paper till I went to work for one.
Right, and they also project what they think we're doing, because that would be what they're doing. I mean, is there nothing more compelling than when somebody calls you up for a favor in the media and you say, no, I can't do it, and they're shocked.
Exactly.
Right? Even an adult will call up and go, hey, can my nephew just launched this little retail, can you do a feature for him on that? And I'm like, no. And they're like, why? Why can't you do it? So, I mean, there's just this...
And by the way, that's a great point, that adults have that misconception too.
And they pass it on to the kids.
My handyman called me yesterday to ask if I could ask the governor...
I thought we have a handy woman.
Or the attorney general. This is my handyman I used to have.
Oh, you have a handyman and a handy woman?
Well, I don't have the
handyman anymore.
handy.
We have the same handy woman.
See if I could help him out with some problem someone in the family was having with the plumbing licensing issues. If I could ask the governor or the attorney general.
I think you should have done that.
Yeah.
I said, I don't think I can do that.
No, they think we have more power than we do, and they don't appreciate the power that we do have. And I think that this has been since the dawn of time. It's like every police officer gets asked if they can fix tickets, right?
Yeah.
And then when you find out that a police officer is fixing tickets, you think it's the end of civilization.
But it would be interesting to see what these findings would have been back in the day when it was still the big three networks, and we didn't have Fox, didn't have MSNBC.
I thought they were boring. I mean, I would watch the news.
But I thought they were credible.
Yeah, but boring.
So lie.
Okay, since I don't like what Sue's saying, let's move on. So let's go from young people to really old people, because that's who watches 60 Minutes. The day after the 60 Minutes interview with Trump, both Marjorie and I said, well, I think I'm speaking for you, while not of the caliber of the brilliant Jonathan Swan interview, arguably the greatest interview with Trump ever, every word was fact-checked. Norah O'Donnell did a pretty good job. I stick by that for the most part. What I don't stick with is the editing thing. Remember the whole 60 Minutes thing? They paid $16 million to Trump for absolutely nothing. It's now been taken over CBS News by Barry Weiss and a rich guy's son who's a good friend of Trump's. The thing that is disturbing is not that there were only 28 minutes of the interview on air and 73 minutes online, because you can't run the whole 73 minutes. It's all there, but it's not all there. What is not on either, and the only reason we know is because it's a written transcript, Norah O'Donnell asks Trump about the pardon of this CZ, this Binance guy, the crypto guy. A little bit is in... I can't pronounce...
No, I'm just joking, because I don't know who he is and Trump doesn't know who he is.
Oh, I'm sorry, right? And after he says, I don't know who he is, the thing goes on, and what appeared in neither the 28 minutes on broadcast TV nor the 73 minutes online, Trump says in the middle of his continued answer, I'd rather not have you ask that question. And he goes on, and they don't put it anywhere. And to me, I'd rather not have you ask that question is symptomatic. He praises the new owners and Barry Weiss because he feels like he owns the network now, and they chose not to air that. I am like out of my mind over this. Should I be?
You should be. And poor Barry Weiss, who was a commentator who worked for the New York Times, I believe, and now is in charge of the news programs there, right?
He's the head of CBS News.
Head of CBS News, who has no real reporting experience, has no television experience. She woke up and got what she asked for, right? Yeah. She wanted to be in charge. She is an extension of, I wouldn't say she's a Trump puppet, but now here she is saying we're going to be transparent. We're going to show everything. We're going to show the whole thing, and then she gets caught because she can't because he gets upset.
Well, the good news, such as it is that they were transparent and put up the transcript and put up the full interview so that we could see that there was.
How many people are reading the transcript?
I was trying to work my way through it today before coming over. It's really, really difficult. So I'm guessing not a lot of people read the transcript. The best way around this problem for 60 Minutes and other shows like it is to try to go as close to live to tape as you can.
Exactly right.
If you've got a 30-minute
So explain
slot,
what that is, live to tape.
Thank you. That's a valuable
Or inside baseball.
Yeah, if you're going to air an interview for 30 minutes on 60 Minutes, you do the interview for as close to 30 minutes as you can. And if you run over a little bit...
So there's no editing at all?
But keep the editing to a minimum.
Because when you watch these Sunday shows, like when we had our At Issue that was on Sunday, we hated doing any edits because we wanted to make sure that we weren't influencing what the guests were saying, the elected officials. But sometimes you get an elected official up there and you ask them one question and they're off 7 minutes. Hello, Barney Frank. And you have to edit it, right? But you don't want to. I mean, luckily with the web, we're able to put up more fuller aspects of it. But everything is edited. And back to these kids today, they know the villain edit that reality TV shows do, right? They pick someone who's going to be the villain and they make them the villain. So they are super aware of this. It would be great to do it to the point, get it up, and then put the transcripts and the whole thing up so people can watch it.
If not for those bachelorette shows, they'd believe in the media again, too.
And by the way, the reason I brought this up, and I think I'm speaking for all four of us, obviously correct me if anybody disagrees, is not just to deal with the micro issue about the editing, but the fact this is a station under new ownership. CBS News used to be the gold standard in news broadcasting until a couple of months ago. And you see what happens. And let's switch to another newspaper, which is, and by the way, it is perfectly legal. Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post. He made it pretty clear when he was kissing up to Trump, he wanted a new era there. There have been 3 editorials since October 25th, one on the ballroom. This is what they say about Trump. Strong leaders reject calcification. In that way, Trump's undertaking is a shot across the bow at NIMBYs everywhere. Meaning if you're upset about him ripping down the East Wing, you're a NIMBY. On Obamacare, they basically belittle the value of Obamacare. And on Zohran Mamdani's victory, I think it was yesterday or today, they did everything they could to not only minimize the significance of that, but essentially, in my opinion, sort of minimizing the significance of the 1 million+ people who voted for them. So the point again there, Jeff Bezos owns the paper. He's entitled to have them print whatever the hell they want on editorial pages, not on the news pages. But mainstream media, on which that was actually my favorite national newspaper. You have CBS News disappearing, Washington Post disappearing. It's a serious problem.
Well, he's done a remarkable about-face. I mean, he was in the exact opposite spot during the first Trump administration. It's
and
amazing
people were
how
thrilled when he
much
took over the Post. It was like, this is going to be great. He'll
Marty
do a
Barron
good job.
in his book and in discussions with us has talked about how Bezos never interfered when he was the editor of the Washington Post.
Another thing they're not doing is they're not disclosing when there's a story that involves something that Jeff Bezos has a commercial or monetary interest in, like the new ballroom at the White House.
So every time we do a story on NBC News about the ballroom, we disclose that Comcast, our parent company, contributed to the. And we say it so that you know that Comcast, our parent company, contributed to the ballroom. And that's what the Washington Post is not doing. And that's why these kids today are upset about it, because we just did a whole segment about how they don't trust us. And we just talked about 2 beacons of our past who we don't trust now.
Well, they do have a point there. I mean,
What?
they do have a point there
Oh.
about this conglomeration. When you think about the things you have to give up, you got to give up Amazon, you got to give up Comcast, you got to give up Apple, you got to give up, your.
Well, you can't. That's the whole point.
That's the whole thing.
You
We're
can't.
trapped. We're trapped by all these things. I mean, my email. What will I do without my Comcast email? I don't know.
Let me give you one more example, because I worry when you say something like you disclose in the Comcast thing, people who are not involved in the meeting go, what's the big deal? Dan Shaughnessy, who's one of the great sports writers of all time, every time he trashes, and the Globe obviously, every time he trashes the Globe, he mentions that John Henry owns not just the Boston Red Sox, whom he's trashing, but he owns the Boston Globe. What does that get you? I don't know. It's transparent. It's full disclosure.
It's part
Make
of
your
why
own
people
decision.
love him.
Well, I think it may be.
It's an honesty thing, I think, that people like.
Which we owe, which is owed to absolutely everybody. So I'm so glad you mentioned that thing. In the Washington Post editorial, they don't even mention that he's made a contribution. That is unimaginable.
They didn't mention also that Jeff Bezos owns Amazon, which has made a contribution, and then they snuck it in, and they did not append a correction noting that they had snuck in that information. So they got it wrong not once, not at least 2 times, maybe more than that.
We're talking to Adam Reilly and to Sue O'Connell.
Well, we have a lot of new reporters at the Pentagon, the legit people, New York Times, Washington Post, even Fox News surrendered their passes there, and now they've been replaced by people that work for Mr. Pillow. We love him. Mike Lindell, he's got a TV station. You remember him? He's the guy that was cocaine addict to CEO.
That's his
crackhead.
book.
Crackhead to CEO.
What a beautiful title.
So we're going to play a little sound here from a White House correspondent who works for Lindell TV. Her name is Cara Castronuova during a press room briefing. And this is an example of kind of the hard-hitting questions the new Lindell TV reporters will be asking at the Pentagon.
Will you guys also consider releasing the president's fitness plan? He actually looks healthier than ever before. Healthier than he did 8 years ago, and I'm sure everybody in this room could agree. Is he working out with Bobby Kennedy? And is he eating less McDonald's?
That is brilliant.
Can you believe it?
I'm so sorry I didn't think to ask that question when I had the opportunity.
Yeah, so it's a little disconcerting given, that we're blowing up these boats in the Caribbean and elsewhere. I don't know.
Well, by the way, the only ones who are there, it's not just Mr. Pillow or whatever his name is, his television station, Christian Networks, Laura Loomer, the conspiracy lunatic.
Even Newsmax walked
They
out.
walked out,
Newsmax, which is, the disturbing part here, there's a couple of reasons there's the obvious reasons why this is terrible, but what they're accusing reporters of having been doing in the Pentagon, they sent out this whole, they're just wandering around, walking into people's offices, looking at stuff on people's desks.
What they said,
that was not happening, right? And like everywhere else, if you are spending time in the same area with people, you will get information. And the Pentagon, under any administration, has never been like, oh yeah, here's what you can know. This is transparent. Here you go. You've had to really dig to get the information. And if you're not in the building, and also we know that if a reporter gets a breakthrough story and publishes it on information that was provided to them off the record or anonymously by a Pentagon employee, that reporter is probably going to get arrested, and that Pentagon employee is probably going to get arrested. Yeah. And you need to know why we are bombing boats off the coast for no apparent reason when fentanyl is not coming in from boats from South America.
Well, we've talked before in this space about the need for collective action, how you want to see journalists
exactly
as a group,
right.
If something is just beyond the pale, say it's unacceptable and walk off, or make a show of force. They did it, and that left this vacuum.
Okay,
now you've got these absurd.
Marjorie's going to be angry at me because I mention this every opportunity, but you opened the door. Why do the White House reporters not walk out when he demeans usually women, usually people of color, not always? He did Jonathan Karl the other day, who's a white guy. Yep. Why don't they say, no more, we're walking out? And since the air that he breathes is all news coverage, it would really strike a blow.
It's because the idea of loss of access to the mainstream media is so antithetical. Just what could be worse than losing your seat?
They did it at the Pentagon. You just said it.
They did it at the Pentagon. I think there's something about being in the White House briefing room in particular that they just can't let go of it.
I had someone describe it to me as to this. We were having this conversation and said it's like when you are covering a war and there's a terrible crime, war crime, or something happening in front of you. You don't put your camera down to save the person. You document what's happening. And being in the White House press room at this point is documenting what's happening because you're not part of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a new sign, I guess.
Yeah, it
Oval
looks like the
Office sign.
Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah.
It really does.
You know,
look
it
like the
does. It's not
cheesecake.
mine. I
never
stole
even
that
thought
from
of that.
somebody. I don't know
That
who I
is
stole it from,
brilliant.
but it looks like cheesecake.
Well,
You know how
explain
much
what it
I love
is.
the Cheesecake
So who
Factory
doesn't,
as well.
of course. There's nothing like portions big enough for a dozen people for one. Okay.
Outside the Oval Office, they wrote in a beautiful script, outside at the Oval Office,
Oh,
so
that
that in
sounds
case he gets
classy.
lost. Yeah, it's classy. Very classy.
Can I tell you, there's certain things that people say that no matter how many times you hear it, you unfortunately laugh every time. Every time Marjorie mentions that his memoir is Crackhead to CEO, I just can't. You could say it 10 times.
Of redemption.
He has been very successful.
Crackhead
We have to say
CEO.
it. Yeah.
A hero's journey, right?
So
Exactly.
we only have a couple minutes left.
Odysseus.
Tucker Carlson interviewed a guy who I assume most people have heard of, white supremacist. He would acknowledge that he's all these things.
This
Misogynist,
is what he calls himself.
anti-LGBTQ, anti-Semite, including being a Holocaust denier. This is Nick Fuentes. And there seems to be a split, which is, I guess, good news in the MAGA community, as much as they love Tucker Carlson, as to whether or not people like Carlson should be giving airtime to one of the most venal people alive. You're frowning to begin with.
Well, I'm frowning because I'm pained. And I'm pained because, on one hand, whether they get platformed by Tucker Carlson or anybody else, they're already platformed. They already have millions of followers.
So we should have one too?
Well, I don't know if that's a good or bad idea. The real issue is that the Republican Party is, I'm using finger quotes, struggling about how to deal with the opinions and beliefs that they are expressing,
yeah.
right? Honestly, at some point, they've got more followers than most people do, these terrible people, so maybe put them on. Maybe give them hard questions. Maybe hold their feet to the fire. But what they say should not be like Republicans going, maybe we should expand the tent and look at this white Christian nationalist country that we should have.
Well, and I don't think we can underestimate the sort of laundering ability of Tucker Carlson to take views that a lot of Republicans, as we just mentioned, still find abhorrent and bring them into the mainstream a little bit. It was an exceedingly friendly interview, very soft touch for a guy who's a misogynist, anti-Semite. I mean, you said it all. He's praised Hitler. He said black people were better off under Jim Crow. And, he was treated like a credible
Can I do
Women
person.
should all shut up. I mean, that was.
Can I do another one of my pet
misogynistic.
peeves? My first pet peeve, thank you for asking, is that the White House reporters don't walk out. You know what my other one is? When a reporter does not have the courage to ask a question and says, some people are saying, Megyn Kelly actually had the decency to say to him, it was like a softball interview. What's up with that? You didn't raise X or Y. She didn't put it that way, though. She said, what would you say to those people who are saying so-and-so? Does that drive you nuts, either of you, or no?
Yeah, it does.
Thank you. Obviously not you.
No, it does.
Be nice to me. Yes, it does. Come on. Come on, work with me.
It does.
Thank you.
I think sometimes, though, I'm telling you this, but you're such a great interviewer.
Oh.
There you go.
Thank you.
But sometimes you have to give people a ramp to answer, and if they sometimes feel that you are asking them a direct question that they interpret as an attack, then you get an answer that may not be honest. But if you give them a little...
If you've got someone like Nick Fuentes, he
Yeah.
doesn't need a ramp.
Good point.
And he doesn't
That's
deserve a
the
ramp.
point.
I prefer
Good point.
No, actually, he
I
does
agree.
need a ramp, if you know what I mean.
the BBC approach, the really aggressive,
Exactly
combative, you
right.
said X.
Don't
justify that.
Don't you love the BBC?
I do.
Oh my God, I love to listen
How
to
about
their
Parliament?
show.
Don't you
I
love
know.
Parliament?
Well, I don't know if I love Parliament, but I love the
love
BBC.
Parliament.
Oh,
Okay, it's great to see you
Good
two.
to see you
Thank
both.
you very much.
Thanks, Adam, for bringing all this paper. I appreciate it. It was helpful.
Hey, I'm with you, Adam. Look at me. I'm covered.
Gotta have
Okay, we've been speaking with GBH's Adam Reilly and NBC 10 Boston Sue O'Connell. Thank you both very much for coming in. We say goodbye to those of you listening at any PM, but we much appreciate you tuning in. And tune in, if you can, to the fabulous 413 at 3 o'clock this afternoon. The show continues here in Boston. Coming up after the new news on 89.7 GBH. How are local libraries weathering the Trump storm? We're going to talk about banned books. We're going to talk about shrinking funding. Who is at the library today? The BPL's David Leonard and Watertown's Kim Hewitt. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Brady. BPR on GBH and NEPM. Live from the Boston Public Library. Streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
You're listening to Boston Public Radio with Jim Browdy and Marjorie Egan. Just ahead, more smart conversation about what's going on in our community. Stay with us here on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And Speakeasy Stage, presenting Lizard Boy, the genre-blending, coming-of-age indie rock musical about monsters, love, and becoming your own hero. Now playing through November 22nd. SpeakeasyStage.com. The next great performances follows acclaimed ballerina Tyler Peck as she overcomes injury to reclaim her place on stage as a prima ballerina. Don't miss Tyler Peck, Suspending Time, tonight at 9 on GBH2.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Jim Browdy, ahead on Hour 2 of BPR Live from the Boston Public Library. As the Trump administration continues its assault on free thought and open inquiry, how are local libraries weathering the storm? The library is still open, and we'll speak with Boston Public Library's head David Leonard and Watertown Free Public Library's Kim Leung about the best and worst of times.
I'm Marjorie Egan, then it's Live Music Friday with veteran R&B vocalist Berkeley's Gabrielle Goodman, ahead of a show at Long Live Roxbury. Then it's our Trump Tracker segment, with just a few of the horrors you may have overlooked this week coming out of the Flood the Zone Oval Office. It's all ahead in the second hour of BPR 89.7 GBH, live from the Boston Public Library.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. As the holiday season begins to ramp up, airlines are starting to cancel hundreds of flights to meet a federal target of 10% fewer traffic at the nation's busiest airports, the fallout of a government shutdown. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says air traffic restrictions will happen gradually.
It's going to be 4% today in regard to those 40 airports. And again, we're going to step ladder that up to get to 10% next week. The exact number I can't give you. And I don't want to see the disruption. I don't want to see the delays.
As air traffic controllers go on 5 weeks working without pay, Duffy says the restrictions are the best way to keep air travel safe. Duffy addressed reporters at Reagan National Airport outside Washington, D.C., where in January a mid-air collision between an American Airlines regional jet and an Army Black Hawk helicopter killed 67 people. The shutdown has forced a broad cross-section of federal workers to go weeks without a paycheck. Some community organizations are stepping up. From member station WAMU, Jackson Sinnenberg reports on how one school district in the Washington, D.C. area is helping.
Arlington is the first Virginia suburb you hit west out of D.C. and home to the Pentagon. It's a hotbed for federal employees. That's why the superintendent of Arlington Public Schools asked the district to come up with ideas to help families. One solution, serve dinner at 3 schools while the shutdown lasts. Arlington Public Schools' Frank Bellavia.
When you think about communities, you think about the schools that are there, and these really are the backbones of the community. So us being here and doing this meet is nothing different.
The school system plans to serve 250 meals at each school every weeknight for 30 days, or until the shutdown ends. For NPR News, I'm Jackson Sinnenberg in Washington, D.C.
The first Friday of the month typically offers a comprehensive report on the performance of the nation's employment sector for the prior month. Today, Labor Department has not released such a report. The government shutdown. President Trump says that Kazakhstan will join the Abraham Accords. These normalized diplomatic ties between Israel and several Muslim countries during Trump's first term in office. But NPR's Frank Ordonez reports Kazakhstan already has full diplomatic relations with Israel.
The president declared the move as a major step toward building bridges across the world. At a dinner with Central Asian leaders, including Kazakhstan, Trump boasted that the administration is negotiating with other foreign leaders about joining.
The Abraham Accords are very sought after right now. We're going to be announcing some very important countries that are joining.
It's a largely symbolic move. The White House described it as a signal that the accords are alive and well in the second administration. Regional concerns over the war in Gaza has been a major impediment to attracting more signers to the agreement, including Saudi Arabia.
That's Frank Ordonez. It's NPR News.
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. Unless your name is Donald J. Trump, travelers with a flight schedule this week should be sure to check that it hasn't been canceled, as airports around the country make cuts due to the federal government shutdown. As we just heard from our colleagues in Washington, U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announced this week that he was ordering a 10% cut in flights at 40 major airports, including Logan, due to air traffic control staffing shortages caused by the federal government shutdown. He said cuts would start with a 4% reduction today, then increase up to 10%. Officials at Logan say 38 flights were canceled today. Meanwhile, President Trump will fly from Washington, D.C. to Palm Beach today so he can spend the weekend at Mar-a-Lago. Well, the heritage rock band Journey have announced their farewell tour with 50 stops in the U.S. and Canada, and there is one final show in
PR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance, home of the Name Your Price tool, so drivers can see coverage options at Progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE. Price and coverage match limited by state law. And the listeners who support this NPR station.
Welcome to hour number 2 of Boston Public Radio. Jim Brady and Marjorie Egan live. Thank you from the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We want to mention we won't be back here at the library Tuesday because it's Veterans Day and the building is going to be closed. But we will be here May 18th with the Mayor of Boston, Michelle Wu. She'll be here from noon to 1, taking our questions and yours. And on May 19th, the next day, Yo-Yo Ma is going to perform right here at the Boston Public Library. We are so excited about that. Hello again, Jim.
And speaking of music, if you want to be excited, and at the bottom of the hour, Gabrielle Goodman and her fellow players and singers are going to perform. We heard her rehearse this morning. They are spectacular. That's going to thrill you, too. So we're now a mere 291 days into the second Trump term. Feels like a little bit more. And the impacts of his administration's cuts and policies are felt across many sectors, including public libraries, despite which continue to be places where great things happen. Joining us now at the Boston Public Library desk to talk about how 2 local libraries are dealing with the best and worst of times are David Leonard, our host and president of the Boston Public Library. Good to see you, David.
Good
nice to have you.
Margie.
And
Great
a new
to see
face
you.
to our show, Kim Long, director of the Watertown Free Public Library. Kim, it's great to meet you. Now, before we get to things that Marjorie thinks matters, did you just get married?
I did.
Where did you get married, Kim Long?
I got married right here at the Boston Public Library.
So you must be really rich if you got married at the Boston Public Library.
I actually utilized one of BPL's services of a 2-hour wedding, which was perfect for us as we'd been together for 10 years already and didn't want a whole big to-do. And so that was a really wonderful service we were able to make
And not
use of.
because you know David Leonard, because
No.
it's available to people. Congratulations, and it
Thank
is a
you.
great thing. Good to meet you.
So, David, since we are right here at the Boston Public Library and we've kind of gotten familiar with it over the years, a lot of people have never been here before. Tell us about this library.
So we're the oldest, the first large municipally-funded public library in the country, dating back to 1848. Today we are comprised of the Central Library here in Copley Square, this renovated 1970 space, the 1895 McKim building next door, by the way, which we want to talk a little bit about, because there's a renovation project for it on the cards. But also importantly, there are 25 branches in the system, and over the last 12 years we've, through the support of successive mayors, including Mayor Michelle Wu, been able to renovate about 7 of those, with more coming. We just did the groundbreaking a month ago for the new Chinatown branch, which will be a project with housing above it. And all of this is supporting about 23 million items in the collection. Which in turn is brought to life by 540 amazing people across every one of our locations.
How about you, Kim, in Watertown?
Sure, so we're not quite as large as Boston. However, we are the 6th busiest library in the state. We have about 1,000 people coming in every day.
Wow.
And it's a very diverse community, so we're meeting a lot of needs in a lot of different ways. There isn't kind of a one-size-fits-all that any library does, but particularly not in Watertown.
You know, I'm nervous. In light of the question that Marjorie asked before you two were here of our press colleagues a couple of minutes ago about the disparaging comments of the majority of teens in this country about the news media, who uses, I'm sure you know the demographics, starting with you, who uses your library?
I mean, we see everyone. We have a huge immigrant population in Watertown and the surrounding community that comes in to use Project Literacy, which is an English language learning program. We get a decent amount of teens for a lot of different things. Some of it's movies, but we also have a teen advisory board. They just completed a project called For Freedoms, where we put out lawn signs so they can express their interests during voting season. And they help us plan, teen-led programming throughout the year. We see children all the time. There's baby story times, all of those normal programs. But we also have a bookmobile. We have a maker space. We have a library of things. We just have a lot going on to meet people's needs.
What are the demographics here? I'm sorry, I just want to get
that. I double down on everything Kim just said. I think yesterday afternoon we had 60 teenagers in Teen Central hanging out, doing what they do, and not interrupting anybody else. So, learning, maybe some homework, maybe some gaming. And I think what the important point here is that all of our public libraries have something for everyone, regardless of age, regardless of your background. We don't want you to interfere with someone else's enjoyment of the library, but regardless of who you are welcome here, regardless of your background. And that shows up in our utilization numbers in new ways that it would not have done 10 to 15 years ago.
Why?
I think because we have modernized. We're standing in a space here that is now almost 10 years old, which became a more welcoming, dynamic, active environment. If you want your quiet, more reflective space, in our case, head over to Bates Hall and McKim. But each strong library now is a combination of either quiet space for study or more active space for programming, and those most important services that are available to now those most in need. We are one of the few remaining, not well-funded, but very important civic infrastructure spaces. Whether it's people who are down on their luck, people who are new arrivals in the country, people looking to learn English, people looking to further their career, they turn to the library now, and they are welcome here. And to the extent that we can be a safe space, we will continue to be safe spaces for everyone.
You know what I wonder about in Watertown, which is obviously a lot smaller than the Boston Public Library? Kids still come there. I mean, even though they can go online to get a lot of information, now they're not doing as much research probably there, but it's still a place to come after school where they don't have to pay to be in an after school place. It's a safe place for them.
That's exactly right. I think, as David said, it's one of those last places that you have. I think it is the last place that you can just go and just be. And when we see teens in our space, we want to encourage that, not push them away because maybe they're a bit louder at times. So we constantly are working on ways to engage them on programming that's going to fulfill their needs and give them some ownership of that space. And I think that really helps us create a program that works for the people that are coming in.
One of the things we have not talked nearly enough about, we generally spend time talking about the big ticket items that the Trump administration has gone after, but whatever the name of the organization, Museum and Library Services, IMLS on the federal level was a target. I know a court got involved. David, starting with you, what's the impact of the cutbacks in so many ways been on libraries in general and on you in particular?
Well, so the targeting of institutions like IMLS and the Department of Education and other institutions, even down to the Smithsonian, the National Archives, they've all had their own difficulties in dealing with new federal policies or personnel changes. Several of those entities are the funding channel for entities locally. In our case, there are two examples I would give. One is the LSTA funding, which is a program managed by IMLS that distributes federal dollars to state libraries for distribution to local libraries, including support of e-book systems. So today, there are number of our online resources in Massachusetts that are being funded at a lower level because that funding is just not available right now, and there is no way that a BPL or a Watertown alone can make up for that loss of funding. The second direct effect here related to a partnership that we've had for decades with Mass Edco. This is the organization that helps students apply for federal funding for their college applications, completely zeroed out. That organization is gone. They are no longer present here at BPL, and no one has yet stepped in to replace that service. And that's before I get to any of the project grants that we have lost. So make no mistake that these policy decisions are having a direct impact on services to the population in Boston and in Massachusetts.
Are you feeling the same kinds of things, Kim, in Watertown?
Absolutely. We are very fortunate to have a very healthy operating budget from our local government, but we regularly rely on grant funding, whether it's very hyper-local grants to do programming in the community. But we also had just received an LSTA grant, and it was no sooner announced than taken back as IMLS funding was cut. And I think, cuts are they're the only thing that really trickles down, right? And we are feeling it. We lost that funding. And then our Representative Steve Owens was able to earmark some funding in the fiscal year 26 budget so that we can continue on with the program.
Is there a rationale for, is this just they cut because they cut, or is it because you have the audacity to talk about anybody other than straight white guys? I mean, I'm serious. What is the rationale for, is there a rationale?
I think academia in general is under attack. Knowledge is under attack.
Okay.
Or is this
I think it probably is more broad than just libraries.
Or is this to fund the so-called big beautiful bill to give tax breaks to wealthy people?
Well, I think if any of you can work out what the rationale for all of these cuts and policy changes actually are, I think we'd all love to know. I think it's a mixture in reality. It is a cultural shift that they're trying to bring about. It is a shift towards autocracy and having centralized control over funding that is not simply left to executive agencies or local authorities. There's a version of this that might be okay if you said, well, okay, let's just give the funding to the states to decide what they want to do.
Like a
states' rights.
block grant kind
Absolutely.
of thing, yeah.
That would be the shift.
Yeah.
But no, it's like we'll get rid of the programs in the departments, but we're keeping the money for our own pet programs.
Do you find donors, and obviously you have a lot of them, do you find that they're helping to fill the hole or no?
So there is good news, right?
Yeah.
So we, like Kim, have been reliant on strong support from the City of Boston, and we had a maintenance budget this year, and we're hoping, fingers crossed, for something similar next year. Our capital funding of branch projects and other projects is still pretty robust, so we're striving ahead. Equally, we have great state officials who are lifting up many of our causes statewide.
Do they actually care about the, I know you have to say what you have to say. The legislature actually give a damn about libraries or no?
100%. There are
really
three bills.
Raise your right hand when you say that. They really care about
I'll raise both hands.
Okay. I just want to, go ahead.
No, and in particular, Senator Oliveira and Senator Sear yesterday at the Mass Board of Library Commissioners 135-year anniversary celebration announced that all three bills were being voted out of committee together. That is to support librarians, that is to support the right to read, and that is to support equitable purchasing power for libraries so that we can deliver the same level, if not better, service to all of our residents.
Well, we've also experienced a lot of book banning efforts around the country of late. We've talked with you, David, about this, and we will again, but I wanted to mention you had a book banning.
We sure did. And I mean, the bottom line is libraries just don't engage in censorship. That is one of our core professional values. It's laid out by our national professional organization, ALA, and it's in our policies. In fact, in Watertown, we had a resident who submitted a formal complaint about a book that was on a suggested summer reading list. They would like it to be taken off.
About a Palestinian kid?
Yes, it was. And when we did not take it off the list, we were then subject to a targeted, orchestrated email campaign from individuals out of state. And this is in line with a lot of what we see going on nationally, where things are happening that aren't coming from your local residents necessarily, but the pressure's on. And we just don't give in to that. I think that's the answer, is keep it moving.
And you didn't, correct? Your
Correct.
board did
the
not.
book, yes.
That's great.
The board was very supportive. The book is on the list and remains in the library today.
We talked to you earlier about a book banning. What's been your experience?
Yeah, I mean, we get the complaints and the challenges from time to time. I think Kim is exactly right. And as I've said before, I think we don't hand you a list of here's your mandatory reading, Marjorie, for that you must read to use the library.
Our staff does that with us, by the way.
Well, that's a different challenge. But it really is the choose your own adventure. You have to have the opportunity to decide what you need to read in your life. If you're young enough, you should be doing that with your parents and caregivers. We're not going to interfere with that at all. But equally, two things. One, read what you want. Secondly, if you're not reading material that's different than your life experience, how are we going to learn how are we going to learn empathy? How are we going to learn about each other? How are we going to build a better society without having greater understanding?
Okay, so I know we're all nodding in agreement. So David Leonard, you have a couple of things going on here that are pretty impressive. There are two in mind. One, I think Mayor Wu talked about the 250th thing, which I want you to talk about. Yeah. But we also read a wonderful story. I hope you thought it was a great story in the Globe about a floor in a building that has some issues, as they say. Tell us about both if you can.
Yeah, I was hoping those are the two things you were going to ask me about. Otherwise, I wasn't necessarily prepared. So we are on our journey towards celebrating the 250th anniversary of this country next year. We have chosen to take a 3-year arc leading up to that. This year is the year of revolutionary art. Last year was revolutionary music. And we opened 2 weeks ago an exhibition in the McKim building, the exhibition hall on the first floor. 120 items from our collection. They are different pieces of art. And rather than just memorialize a moment or moments in time 249 years ago, we chose to pick moments along that story that are different moments of revolution, rebellion, resistance. So yes, you will start with the George Washington picture of Washington on Dorchester Heights. You will see 3 different images of Paul Revere's Boston Massacre engraving. One is a modern retelling where the rifles are pointed at the viewer rather than at the crowd.
Oh, wow.
The third one centers Crispus Attucks into the engraving where he was present but not necessarily noted in the original. And then it takes you through a journey of suffrage, of the anti-slavery and abolitionist movements, Martin Luther King's connections to Boston, a few images from BPL's history about ourselves, because hey, a library is a revolutionary idea too. More so than I thought it needed to be, but here we are. And then through modern times, we've added items to our collection that celebrate more recent moments of resistance and rebellion.
How long is that around?
So it will be up until April and open close to the same hours that the library is open on those days.
Okay, talk to us about the third floor.
We're standing in this 140,000 square foot renovated space on the Boylston Street side of the building right now, which we did 10 years ago. We have done 7 with more branches coming with city funding. Our poor McKim building next door has had most of the third floor offline for almost a decade. Yeah. There are spaces there that are as beautiful as the Guastavino room where Kim got married, where Bates Hall most people are familiar with, but they're in very poor shape. They're not fit for collections today, they're not fit for the public to use, and they're not fit for staff to use either. So we are on a journey towards a major renovation of that space, which will provide more public space, because if you're here on a busy day, you will have trouble getting a seat, which is another interesting thing about the moment that we're at for public libraries. So it is our goal to renovate the space, return it to its proper age, but do so in a way that activates more modern public services and the types of experiences people expect from a public library.
What's going on exciting that excites you out there in Watertown?
Similarly to David, we're looking at an expansion, hopefully in our future. There is a Watertown Square area plan going on, and we are part of that. And part of what we're looking to do with expansion is bring things in that we're hearing about. We just completed a strategic plan, and we heard a lot of ideas. Some of the things that are really exciting would be things like a community kitchen, where you can do teaching classes. We can have people from Project Literacy sharing about their culture that way. So that feels very exciting. We're looking at potential public-private partnership to maybe have mixed-use buildings as part of our expansion, which is really exciting. You see that in other parts of the country. I know Boston, I think, has been looking at that recently. We're hoping a few people are kind of going first and we can learn from you. But those are the big, exciting things in our future.
Not crazy enough to put a radio studio inside a public library.
That was going to be my last question, but I'll do it now. Is anybody we had nothing to do with this. We were lucky to be the beneficiaries. Is anybody else doing this? I mean,
we've had many of our colleagues around the country come through and look at this partnership. Some have toyed with maybe a smaller version. I don't know that anyone's brought one online. We continue to love not only the activation of this space, but the idea of putting two of the main keepers of trusted information, public information, right next to each other, where people can come and watch the radio at the library. Crazy idea.
So, before you go, the question I was going to ask before that, AI, and we only have a minute or two, we read a story about the negative side, that it's helping book banners in some way. Is there a plus that you're living with on the, I guess that may be the answer. Starting with you, quick. Oh, you have one. Okay, you give us a plus. Go ahead, Kim, and then David quickly, if you can.
You've got a big project going on.
We do, actually, yeah. We have an interesting partnership with OpenAI right now to pilot some of these opportunities. Look, this is the latest automation in technology in our world. It's a tool. It can be used for good. It can be used for bad. You have to understand how it works in order to make the best of it. We are currently piloting digitizing some collections that are completely inaccessible, and could it accelerate access to more information? We have inserted librarians into the chain so that we can validate no hallucinations at the library for AI on this front. We want to make sure there's a quality and a standard as well that allows us just to have greater access to information.
One last thing I want to say, that not even a question, which I had forgotten about until one of you, I think, was using the word space a couple of times. We did a call-in a few months ago, a couple of weeks ago, about third spaces for people.
Yes, libraries,
and some of the most energetic, beautiful phone calls we got, people saying coffee shop this. When people called and talked about libraries in their life from all over the country, if I remember correctly, it was really pretty moving. It was really great and deep,
It is, and we see that every day, and some new and interesting ways of using spaces and doing maker things, and it's a great story to be able to tell about why libraries are important today, and it helps with our fundraising goals. For example, this McKim project is going to take everybody because it's going to be a very, very large number, but last week we had our BPL Funds Emerging Leaders program have this is their third year of doing an event called Night in the Stacks. This year happened to fall on Halloween, so they turned it into Nightmare in the Stacks. And 935 people showed up and raised over $300,000, all from the Emerging Leaders Young Professional Group. So yeah, there's no question that across the generations, libraries are appreciated.
Well, you're not a bad host, David Leonard. And
we try.
We're thrilled to meet you, Kim. Good luck to both of you. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much for coming in, both of you. We much appreciate it. We've been speaking with Boston Public Library President David Leonard and Kim Hewitt-Long, Director of the Watertown Free Public Library. Coming up after this quick break, it is time for Live Music Friday with singer, songwriter, and collaborator of the likes of Roberta, Flack, and Chaka Khan, Gabrielle Goodman. Wait till you hear this music. I am Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browder. You're listening to BPR 89.7 GBH live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
Global pop star Rosalia is back with a new album, and it's her most ambitious yet, featuring 13 different languages.
I love people realizing that pop music can be great art, and that's something that's happening here.
I'm Juana Summers. NPR's Stephen Thompson reviews Rosalia's sprawling new record looks. That's on All Things Considered from NPR News.
Today at 4, here on GBH News 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And Global View Communications, providing customized inclusion business strategy, market research, and recruiting solutions for over 25 years. Global View Communications. Inclusion, it's worth it. InclusionIt'sWorthIt.com. And Rogers Fish Company, founded by Roger Berkowitz. Their signature double clam chowder is available for purchase at all Market Basket locations. More at rogersfishcompany.com.
Welcome back to BPR. Jim Browdy, Marjorie Egan, live at the library, streaming youtube.com/GBH News. The mayor will, we're not at the library on Tuesday because of Veterans Day. Mayor joins us on the 18th. Yo-Yo Ma joins us to perform and talk to us on the 19th. So you've made it to another Live Music Friday at the library. This week we're treated to the incredibly talented vocalist and songwriter, Berkeley's own Gabrielle Goodman. Through her career, she's performed behind and alongside everyone from Patti LaBelle to Chaka Khan, with whom she co-wrote stuff, and to no small degree, the incredible Roberta Flack. Along with her band, Goodman's performing music by Aretha Franklin and Flack next Thursday, November 13th, at the always totally free Long Live Roxbury Brewery, longlivebeerworks.com for more info. We'll give it to you again. And check out all things Gabrielle by going to GabrielleGoodmanSingsIt.com. In a moment, we'll speak with her and Michael Feldman, who produces this weekly jazz series. But first, here's Gabrielle and her band performing a song she wrote, which she just told me required 3 trips to Brazil. It's called Brazilian Nights. Welcome to all of you. Thanks for being here.
Paradise with you here by the sea. Paradise with you here by the sea. Rising
Thank you. Just listening to Gabrielle Goodman and her band. We're going to find out all about them when she comes over here singing Brazilian Nights.
Oh, my gosh.
She just wrote, that was incredible, Gabrielle. Thank you for joining us. Please tell us when you get your microphone on, who is in your fantastic band? And
oh, my goodness. Maxime Lubarsky.
Yeah.
Yoron Israel on drums. Oscar Staniero on bass. Maxime, by the way, is on piano, fabulous piano. We have Mia Hawthorne on background vocals. And Kimmy Tajuddin.
That's very
great part. Kimmy Tajuddin on backing vocals. And these two lovely people on vocals are stellar students at Berkeley. They're in one of my background vocal classes, and I said, you need to just come and just sing with me on some shows. And so that's what's going on.
She also
there.
said, you want to get an A, you'll show up at the library on Friday.
No
That's
pressure,
fine. That's
no
totally
pressure.
Fine. Can you tell us about this place? We've had you on before. It is really exciting. Tell us about your place.
Yeah, Long Live Roxbury is a wonderful brewery. They make beautiful beer, and they're in our wonderful brick and beam space, 1856 old building in Roxbury. And it's just a wonderful scene. I mean, I was watching the whole crowd. I saw Marjorie and Jim grooving along here.
Grooving along, especially.
I was trying. Okay.
So that's what goes on Thursday nights. All of this news and all this stuff we're dealing with in the world goes away.
Yes.
And it's free, and people in the neighborhood come. They bring kids. We have 80-something-year-old people. And it's a wonderful scene. And we meet new friends. None of us look alike. We all look different, which is a great place to be. And then we experience musicians like Gabrielle, and I call our house band Maxim and Oscar.
They're there a lot. Yeah.
Everyone is involved with Berkeley. They teach, they chair departments. They're incredible. They're students. It's the best music in town.
Well, also, I mean, in terms of sound, let me do a poll. How many of you here have had your hand licked by Miles Davis? Anybody? Anybody? Nobody. Oh, you have.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Okay, so on my very first tour with Roberta Flack in 1980, Roberta was sharing her dressing room with me. They didn't have a dressing room for me. We were in Japan for the Live Under the Sky festival at that time. And frequently, thereafter even, she would share her dressing room if they didn't have a special dressing room for me. And so every time she shared her dressing room with me, somebody would come in, Miles Davis, Lou Rawls, I mean, you name it, you know. So this was my first time out of the country in Japan, and I was 20-something, 21, something like that, 22. And so in walks Miles Davis. He had been saying rude things to everyone all day long. So I said to myself, I was not going to even try to make eye contact with him. I was really frightened. And then he walks in. And I'm like, oh my God, so I'm still not going to say anything to him, you know. And she introduced me as this fabulous singer, my new background singer, blah, 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 blah. And I think he just took my hand and I extended it thinking that he was going to shake it gently. And, you know, he licked it. And I'm like...
What was the meaning of that, do you think?
To this day, I have no idea.
I think we can guess.
Right. There are a lot of things that we can think of, you know.
That's right.
So I was thinking, like, should I just wipe it off, or should I get it encased in bronze or something for the rest? I don't know.
So how did it, Roberta Flack, Shaka Khan, tell us how this happened for you, that you wound up for all those 10 years being a backup singer for Roberta Flack.
With Roberta, my ex-husband was her drummer's best friend.
Okay.
And it was weird because my ex-husband and I had broken up. I had said to his best friend, we had done some work in New York, I said, if anybody ever wants to have a background singer, anyone that you know of, please, I would like to do some more work in New York. And like almost 2 years went by, and I didn't the call came unexpectedly. I was in Baltimore at Peabody Conservatory studying classical music.
Really?
Yes, and Howard King called me and said, would you like to come to sing for Roberta Flack? And I was thinking, I said, yeah, immediately, you know. And I said, when is it? I'm thinking it's like next week or the week after. He's like, you have to be in New York basically tomorrow. And I said, well, yes, I can do that. Not knowing how I was going to do it. I did it. I got on a train, went there, learned her show overnight. I had been studying. I mean, my mother had played her music all my life, so I basically knew the parts. It was just thinking of, you know, what arrangements they were going to do, how many times I said ooh-ah or whatever, you know. And but when we met at the Dakota, at that fabulous sprawling place.
John Lennon, Yoko Ono.
Right, and she frequently said, well, you know, Yoko Ono is my next door neighbor, you know. And I said, oh my God, you know, so I'm this little kid going, And then she looked me up and down. She said, do you know my music? You know, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm in trouble. Yes, I said, yes, ma'am, I do, you know. And then we got on a bus and we came here to Massachusetts. We did a show at Amherst.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we did her show, and the whole night I was just pinching myself. I'm like, is this real, you know? And then we got to the end of the show. It was a Sunday, and she was a spiritual person, and so frequently on Sundays she would play a hymn like Amazing Grace, whatever. She said, and now we're going to do a hymn. You know, it's Sunday. We didn't get to church today. She played Amazing Grace. She said, everybody's going to take a solo. Well, I'm a church girl at heart. I mean, I grew up singing gospel, so when they gave me the mic, I was frightened. First of all, when I'm frightened, I oversing. And so I think I sang every note in the universe. And she said, oh my God. She's like, can you join me on tour next month? And I was like, yes. You know, anyway, we're going to Japan and we're opening for Miles Davis. And I was like, oh my God.
Well, you've got a 3-octave range, I read.
That was even higher than that then, yeah.
You know what that reminds me of, by the way? I'm looking at Sue O'Clair, who obviously has a connection to all these wonderful things, and got us here. She introduced us to one of our favorite guests ever, Lisa Fisher. Who
I know her well.
Lisa Fisher's story about being summoned to Mick Jagger to sing with the Rolling Stones. Wow. Was she in bed in her pajamas or whatever it was? I mean, were you not totally panicked?
Yeah, but then you have to shut it down and just sing, because otherwise you won't be able to do what you need to do.
How'd you find her? I mean, obviously, she's a huge reputation. How'd you two connect is what I should say.
This is the beauty. She found me.
I called him.
No, is that so?
I did. I heard great things about his place. I knew Max and the guys were working there. I said, listen, I would love to work in your establishment. I'd love to bring my band, blah, blah, blah. And the rest is history.
She sends me an email, and I look up her name, and there they are at the Cambridge River Fest playing this Aretha Franklin 3-song medley.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I turned my computer up so loud, my wife was working from home, our house was rumbling. And she's like, aren't you working? I'm like, yeah, the jazz program is part of my work. And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, you want to play here? How many dates do you want?
So
and I
much
think you
fun.
played at least 2 last year.
Yeah.
We have a picture.
Of young Gabrielle and Roberta Flack.
Young Gabrielle.
Oh my God.
Wow, look at that.
Oh, look at the look on your face. That is beautiful.
You know, Michael, I think people in Boston think, you know, when they think jazz, they think Scullers, Regatta Bar. I know they shut down during the pandemic, and they're not fully back. I mean, you're really taking a space that has been somewhat, less than since the pandemic.
Yeah, well, it was always my dream. We purchased the building in 2016, moved our engineering offices upstairs, and we had a brewery tenant at the time. And I was just feeling like we're 2 miles from Berkeley. Why don't we start up maybe a student showcase? Mm-hmm. And I started talking to some of the professors here that I knew. And then as it kind of gained some steam, I said, well, why don't we try more of the professional scene and see how it goes? So part of it was, let's take some of our company marketing budget and let's do something good for our neighborhood. Let's bring people to Roxbury. What I didn't think about, honestly, was this is great for the musicians, too. I mean, I thought it was more community, great for the building, let's get people to the brewery. And then the musician outpouring of appreciation, like, this is great, we have another place to go, there's so few places now. And so it just built from there, and just having this as part of our job and our building.
We really
Berkeley is such a big
you.
deal. I mean, how many times do we do with Live Music Friday that people
Almost
are
everybody has a Berkeley
students or
connection.
from Berkeley or went to school in Berkeley. I mean, it's like such a feeding place.
Beside the two, talk about your students. Talk about the student body at Berkeley in 2025.
The student body, I think we have 2,000 singers now. When I first started teaching there, it was 500 singers.
What's that say to you?
That people love Berkeley and we have a lot to offer, and the students are growing, they're learning a lot, and so it's a wonderful environment in which to learn and grow and perform. You know, a lot of the professors, I'm not the only professor who showcases their students on gigs, and so a lot of times the students get an opportunity to be showcased in various environments, you know, outside of the classroom, inside the classroom, as well as outside.
Roger Brown has been here, by the way, the former president, a number of times with his effort to promote young performers, too.
You know,
it's great.
Gabrielle, Roberta Flack didn't die that long ago, just early this year, I believe. Yeah. You told a part of a story about visiting her in the hospital and dancing around the hospital room. Tell us about that.
How did you know about that?
It was in one of the stories I read about you today.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think I can say this without crying today, because for a long time the tears were stuck. So the very last, her birthday is February 9th. And my brother and I went to New York on February 8th. No, is that right? Yeah, February 8th. I wanted to do a special birthday party for her. Lisa Fisher came, a lot of those singers who've worked with us over the years. And we all wound up singing at Valerie Simpson's, at Nick Ashford and Valerie Simpson's Sugar Bar. That's where the gig was. It was, we couldn't slate it actually on her birthday, so we had it the day after her birthday. So on her birthday, on the 9th, we just went to her, we took a bunch of flowers and danced around her bed singing, "Happy Birthday," to, you know.
Gosh.
And so that was great. And then
the hospital must have loved it too.
Well, this was her private, private. Yeah, she had private nurses. And then the next day we had this huge show at the Sugar Bar. I mean, many of the background singers who had sung with her over the years, Lisa, Ada Dyer, so many people who were even singing with her when Luther Vandross was with her were there. And so I said something about, I hear that Lisa Fisher is in the house. And I said, Lisa's going to come up and sing. And she looked at me like, are you kidding me? You know, I said, it's killing me softly. She was like, oh, yeah. So we traded parts on that. It was just wonderful. And everybody was like, oh, my God, you know. So that was her birthday, and Valerie Simpson sang with us.
Wow,
it was just, It was just a night to remember. And she could see it from her hospital bed in her room. We set it up so that it was live streamed. She could see the whole thing.
Wow.
So she sat up all night watching. The next day, we went back to say goodbye. We were going back to Maryland, my brother and I. And her manager, who was also my former manager, said, oh, sing one more song for her. I said, well, okay. You know, I sang something, and then she said, well, sing something else. And I was like, you know, I don't know what else to sing, you know. And my brother started playing Take the A Train. And I started singing it, and then I said, okay, A Train, you know. And then my brain I had brain fog. I was so tired. So I just started scatting an Ella Fitzgerald solo. And then I got to the B section, and I scattered the solo, and her eyes, she was sort of just twilighting. Her eyes popped open, and she was like, oh my God, I forgot you could do that, you know. So she would always introduce me as a singer who could sing various styles of music, funk, jazz, opera, whatever, you know. And she looked at me like, I forgot you could do that, you know. And so we just had a wonderful time, and that was actually the last time. It was the last time I saw her. And so when Suzanne called me and said that Roberta had passed 2 weeks after that, she said, what a send-off you gave her. And I was like, no, I couldn't have done any of this without you. What a send-off we gave her. So it was just wonderful. It was just a wonderful week.
Story. What are you performing for us now?
We're doing Crystal Stair, based on Langston Hughes' Mother to Son, Life Ain't Been No Crystal Stair.
Who wrote this?
I set Langston Hughes to music. So now I'm a co-writer with Langston Hughes.
So if you want to gently put your headset down.
Yes, it's on my new CD. You can buy it. My latest CD, you can buy it.
Where do we find that?
You can find it on Amazon.com. You can also go to my website and purchase it as well.
We'll tell you what the website is.
It's called Jazz Life.
Jazz Life. Gabrielle Goodman's going to rejoin her partners. Tell us one more time how we find your place, too.
So you can look up Long Live Roxbury, just Google it and it will come up. The brewery has a lot of great programming throughout the week, but our what we call jazz night is on Thursday nights. Usually start early, 6 to 6:30, and they're done by 8:30. Parking lot with free parking for the first 25 cars.
Oh, good.
And there will be food people who make sandwiches and things to eat as well.
Fabulous. Gabrielle Goodman and friends yet again.
Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it and splinters and places with no carpet on the floor bare. Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Still I keep on climbing every day. Still I keep on moving on my way. So don't you give up, child. Keep pushing. Keep on moving on your way. Life ain't gonna be no crystal stair. Come on now. Can you put your hands together? Come on. Way you down. So still I keep on climbing every day. Oh, you gotta keep on moving on your way. So don't you give up, child. Keep pushing. Keep on moving on your way. Life ain't gonna be no crystal stair. No crystal stair.
Thank you so much.
Gabrielle Goodman. Gabrielle Goodman.
Señero on bass, Kimi Tajuddin on backing vocals, Mia Hawthorne on backing vocals. I'm Gabrielle Goodman. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was spectacular.
Okay, one more time.
Oh,
Gabrielle
my
Goodman is
God.
performing next Thursday, November 13th
Wow.
at the totally free Long Live Roxbury Brewery. I'm going to give you the websites twice. LongLiveBeerWorks.com. Long Live Beer Works. For more info on the site and to check out all things about the incredible Gabrielle, go to GabrielleGoodmanSingsIt.com. That's Gabrielle Goodman Sings It. What? .com. Oh, okay. They're telling me about the clock.
Don't worry about
Okay,
it.
thanks. After this quick break, our newish regular feature, Trump Tracker, where we check in some of the most outrageous things you missed this week from the Trump administration. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy. Listen to BPR 89.7 GBH, live from the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
This week on Under the Radar with Callie Crossley, depression and anxiety rates are skyrocketing in LGBTQ plus youth. Jonathan Bailey is breaking the internet and breaking barriers. And is same-sex marriage in danger of being overturned? It's our LGBTQ plus news roundtable. That's Under the Radar with me, Callie Crossley, Sunday night at 6 here on 89.7 GBH and the GBH app.
Support for our programs comes from you.
And Central Square Theater with Summer 1976. Pulitzer Prize winner David Auburn's play about friendship, memory, and small moments that change our lives forever. Summer 1976 through November 30th, centralsquaretheater.org. And Revolutionary Valley. On April 19th, 1775 in Lexington and Concord, the first shots of the Revolution rang out. This is the heart of Revolutionary Valley. revolutionaryvalley.org. Funded in part by the Massachusetts Office of Travel and Tourism.
Welcome back to BPR. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy, live at the BPL, streaming youtube.com/GBH News. It's time for our usual Friday Trump Tracker. The good news for you is Gabrielle Goodman sang long enough that you don't have to listen to us rant about Donald Trump too much. You do one, I'll do one.
Well, Sean Dunn, the man who threw a Subway sandwich at an ICE officer in D.C. As a protest about what was happening, he has been found not guilty of assault. The officer claimed the sandwich exploded on his chest and left smells of onions and mustard. But guess what, Jim?
What?
He was lying about the onions. He was lying about the mustard. And the jury found that the Subway wrapper, because they saw pictures, was still in its Subway sandwich, was still in its wrapper. So those onions and mustard couldn't have been there. Sean Dunn did lose his job after this, but he was acquitted and he stood up for American justice, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
It's beautiful. Now, I don't think this will get quite as much applause. You know that Donald Trump did not get the Nobel Peace Prize. You're aware of that?
Yes, I'm aware of
well,
that.
good news. One of his, wait. One of his great lapdogs, the guy who runs FIFA, the football, soccer thing, has announced, I thought it was like a Saturday Night Live thing. On December 5th, the head of FIFA will announce the first ever FIFA Peace Prize. And you know who, by coincidence, is going to be at the event?
Who?
Donald Trump. So December 5th, mark your calendars. I would be cleaning my bathroom if I were you. December 5th, FIFA Peace Prize. Luckily, that's all the time we have.
Okay, that's all the time we have.
That is lucky for us.
But that's
and
good.
them.
That's okay. That's all right. After this, after the 1 o'clock news, we're going to be joined by Boston Business Globe columnist Shirley Leung, who's really worried that her 12 and 14-year-olds are going to turn to gambling, sports gambling addicts any day now. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy. You're listening to BPR 89.7 GBH, live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
you made a recent contribution to GBH, your donation could be doubled by your employer through our Matching Gifts program. Find out if your donation can be matched at gbh.org/matchinggifts.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And Dover Rug and Home. Rugs and carpeting for today's lifestyle with in-home rug trial and design consultation. Dover Rug in Natick, Boston, Burlington, and online at doverrug.com. Dover Rug. Rugs and the people who know them. And Historic Beverly. 250 years ago, a revolution began. The American Revolution, a story of war in 28 paintings, explores the defining moment and features works highlighted in Ken Burns' upcoming documentary, historicbeverly.net.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Jim Browdy, ahead on Hour 3 of BPR Live from the Boston Public Library. We'll check in with Boston Globe business columnist Shirley Leung on the impact of sports betting on kids and kids' sports, whether the MBTA Communities Act is creating as much housing as planned, and whether she thinks Elon Musk deserves that $1 trillion contract.
I'm Marjorie Egan, and it's the 90th anniversary of the Hasbro classic board game Monopoly. Are you the Baron of Baltic Avenue, Princeton Park Place? Do you steal directly from the bank like the real wolves of Wall Street? Or instead of pressing go, perhaps you prefer games like Yahtzee or Clue or Scrabble? It's all things board games via call or text next third hour BPR GBH 89.7 live from the Boston Public Library.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The White House is hosting Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban today. NPR's Rob Schmitz reports Orban would like to broker another summit between President Trump and Russian leader Vladimir Putin.
Orban, who is close to both Trump and Putin, has proposed hosting a summit in Budapest. He also plans to discuss an exemption from U.S. sanctions against Russian energy. Hungary relies on Russian crude oil, and Orban says without it, his country's economy would be in trouble. Another priority for Orban is to persuade Trump to visit Hungary, as Orban faces an unprecedented challenge to his power from a new opposition leader ahead of Hungary's parliamentary elections next April. Orban believes a visit by Trump could energize the strongman leader's conservative base. Rob Schmitz, NPR News, Berlin.
Airlines are beginning to cancel flights at major hubs across the country today. That's because the Federal Aviation Administration is cutting traffic at the nation's 40 busiest airports by 10%. From member station GBH in Boston, Jeremy Siegel reports the move is intended to ease the burden on air traffic controllers who've been working without pay since the start of the government shutdown.
Patricia Andeweg was supposed to fly from Boston to Australia to celebrate her 90th birthday with family this week. But thanks to a series of delays and now the shutdown-induced cancellations, she missed her connecting flight. Andeweg says at this point, it's not worth the trip.
I'm missing my birthday, but on the other hand, I met so many helpful people, right, left, and center. I call it the journey to nowhere.
Airlines are phasing in the 10% reduction in flights, so cancellations are expected to become more widespread in the days ahead. For NPR News, I'm Jeremy Siegel at Logan Airport in Boston.
It is the first Friday of the month, which normally means the release of a new government jobs report. But for the second month in a row, that report's been held up by the government shutdown. Here's NPR's Scott Horsley.
The last official jobs report we got was 2 months ago. And as Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook told an audience at the Brookings Institution this week, that's a long time in a fast-moving economy like ours.
I'm worried about the labor market because it can turn very quickly. It can deteriorate very quickly.
That's why the Fed lowered interest rates last week in an effort to boost demand and try to prop up the job market.
That's NPR's Scott Horsley reporting. Economists are getting indications about the labor market's performance from other sources, such as Challenger Gray and Christmas. The outplacement firm put out a report saying it was the worst October for layoff announcements in more than 2 decades. The Dow is down 237 points. The Nasdaq has fallen 352 points. This is NPR News.
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. As the government shutdown looms large and air travel gets restricted, major hotel operators are feeling the pinch of the economic anxiety that's taking hold. BizNow reports that several hotel chains are seeing flat or decreased revenue per available room, and it comes at a time when many hotel operators were hoping that this year would be the year that things would go back to pre-pandemic levels. Wyndham, Marriott, and Hyatt are just a few that are seeing a decline in businesses in both U.S. and in Canada. And after a 208-year run, the publishers of the Farmer's Almanac have published the final issue. But it should be noted that the Maine-based publication should not be confused with the even older Old Farmer's Almanac, which is based in New Hampshire. That was first printed in 1818. CBS News reports that the 2026 edition of Farmer's Almanac, which is already available, is its last, citing the growing financial challenges of producing and distributing the book in today's chaotic media environment. A goodbye piece in the publication titled A Fond Farewell says the season we hoped would never come is here. Access to the online version will cease next month. In sports, the Celtics are in Orlando tonight, and the forecast partly to mostly cloudy today, high low 50s, then clouds and a passing shower overnight, low 50 degrees. Cloudy start to tomorrow, a sunny finish, but the sun will set at 4:30 tomorrow. Looks like rain late in the day on Sunday, high in the mid-50s. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Fisher Investments. Fisher is committed to helping clients stay on track to reach their financial goals and enjoy a comfortable retirement. FisherInvestments.com. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Welcome to hour number 3 of Boston Public Radio. Jim Brady and Marjorie Egan, thank you very much. We are broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. A couple of programming notes. No library for us on Tuesday. The building is closed because it's Veterans Day, but the mayor of Boston, Michelle Wu, will join us October 18th from 12 to 1, and Yo-Yo Ma will perform right here at the library and speak to us as well on November 19th. What a treat.
Oh, how? That's exciting.
Isn't that great?
Awesome.
I know. For free.
Plus, he's a pretty great talker, too.
He's a pretty great talker.
That's right. Very
talker.
Impressed.
We're joined now at the library by Shirley Leung. Shirley, of course, Boston Globe business columnist, host of the Say More podcast, and a BPR contributor. Hello, Shirley Leung.
Hi, Jim. Hi,
How
Marjorie.
are you? Nice to see you.
So, Shirley Leung, have you done a podcast on your children's gambling problems?
Not yet. I never do.
Well,
come on,
you
Marjorie.
wrote an hysterical column about your two sons, 12 and 14, being real sports fans, but you have a concern.
Yes, I'm really concerned about their love of sports. If you think about it, this is the first generation of kids that will grow up where sports gambling is normalized. Yep. Massachusetts legalized sports gambling in 2023, after years after the Supreme Court legalized it. And when you watch a game now, right? We're tuning into the Celtics. I mean, the Crawl. It's all about sports betting. Mm-hmm. There's shows on TV.
Explain what the Crawl is, by the way, for the few.
Crawl. Well, it's at the bottom of the.
Sort of like that thing over there at the bottom
when you're
of the
watching
screen,
a game
right?
broadcast, there's something underneath talking about the bets, the unders, and the overs and unders, or whatever you want to call it, and I asked my kids. I mean, they love sports, and there was this big NBA gambling scandal that ensnared players and coaches a few weeks ago, and I said, "Are you guys paying attention to this?" And it's like, "Yes, Mom. Don't worry about. I'm not going to get into gambling. We're not going to get hooked on sports gambling.
It's
don't
incredible.
worry about
At
it."
12 and 14, you have to worry about this.
You
it's
do.
True, but you're right.
Right. Well, because a lot of the sports gambling takes place on your cell phones, right? And so this is also a generation of kids where they've had cell phones since middle school. So, and it's something, I mean, even before this scandal broke out, there was my 12-year-old is a big, basketball player. He plays AAU. And one of the other basketball dads, he brought it up on his own. It's like, I'm really worried about sports betting with their kids. And I since have had readers write in. I had had this a woman who was just retired as a high school English teacher, and she said, "Listen, when you talk to the kids, they are talking about sports gambling. That's all they talk about. They used to talk about like how was the game, who won, who lost. Now they talk about how much money they're winning or could have won if they placed a bet."
Can you imagine? We could be close to having teens Gamblers Anonymous meetings over in the basement of the churches. You know?
Well, you're making light.
I'm not making light of it.
I think it's happening.
I think it's a problem.
I mean, even though you have to be 21 to bet on sports,
that's right.
But now we're kind of preparing them to gamble.
Does anybody do the coach? I don't know if it's uniform. Maybe it is. Do any do the coaches, as far as you know, talk about this with the kids? Is that part of the program or no? I mean, it should be.
I mean, right. I mean, as I understand it, Attorney General Andrea Campbell is rolling out high school education programs about sports betting, about gambling. Some of that, I think Charlie Baker is doing that at the NCAA level now that he's the president there. So I think the regulators are aware, but I'm really concerned about, I mean, not only that my kids might take up sports gambling, but it might ruin it. It might ruin sports for them because now they're not thinking about the outcome of the games. They're how much money?
Over, under.
How much money can I make? And one thing that surprised me, I didn't realize how big of a problem was this. There was one survey that found that 21% of sports bettors actually harass and heckle players and coaches because they did something that made them lose money on a bet. I mean, that and apparently
well, they get death threats, some of these athletes who college and pro.
Right.
You know, the thing, I know this is not popular. We've had this, I don't know what we were talking about the other day here, but I think in 2026, the lottery is scheduled to go online so you could also lose money on the phone. This is not betting. This is losing money. The industry wouldn't exist if they didn't make money, and they only make money if you lose money. The phone is the problem as far as I'm concerned.
Can I ask you a question about the phone? Because I should know this, but I don't. Was there a debate about being able to gamble on your phones? I just didn't pay attention to. I mean, didn't anybody think that this could be a disaster?
Well, I mean, that's how the sport platforms are set up. They're set up on your phones, you know. I think right now what is being debated, I mean, it's too late. Sports gambling exists on, you know, DraftKings and FanDuel on your phones. But what is being debated now is whether online gaming should also be on your phones, like poker or blackjack. That's what's being debated.
So there's no way, and I know this is a stupid question, but there's no way to keep it off phones.
No, wait a second, wait. I just said this is lottery only.
Yes.
The legislature just last year, I think, voted to make the lottery online. They could have voted not to put the lottery online.
I know it's online, but I'm asking if there's some way.
No, but wait a second.
Now. I mean, it's too late now.
If a kid who's obviously underage goes to try to buy a lottery ticket at 7-Eleven, they may not get it. But if they have a phone, they're going to bet on the damn thing.
I was just thinking if there were a way, and I'm not technically smart enough to know if you could have it online on your computer or something, but not via your phone.
I mean, I guess that's already been decided.
Under the bridge. Under the bridge.
You know, I want to say something. Well, I greatly admire Shirley Leung, and she is the most influential business columnist in town. You notice on the tough issues, she goes to 12 and 14-year-olds. When she was deciding how to vote on the MBTA Communities Act in Milton, who does she go to?
She asked
her kids to find out what the right to.
Who both would voted no.
I know.
On the MBTA Communities Act in Milton.
Well, speaking of the MBTA Communities Act, are we moving on from that, Jim?
Yeah, sure.
The MBTA Communities Act, thank you. A story's been in the Globe saying that it may not yield the numbers of houses that we thought.
Or even close.
Well, especially look what happened in Winthrop, you know. On election day, they had 6 candidates who opposed the town complying for MBTA Communities Act, and they were all elected to town council. So you could probably add one more town that is not going to be in compliance.
Well, that's not the issue. The issue, I mean, at least to me, I think you have to be in compliance because it's the law. We talked to, when Andrea Campbell was here the other day, the AG, I think she said 150-some communities.
Right, there's many.
And that's not the problem. Is it Andrew Brinker's your colleague?
Yes.
Who I haven't met, but he wrote a great piece that I totally missed earlier in the year, in which he said many communities that are in technical legal compliance crafted their rezoning in such a way that they really don't have to do anything. For example, they said you can do a 4-story building, zone 4-story buildings in a particular area where there are 3-story buildings. And as Brinker wrote, they're not going to rip down the 3-story building to build a 4-story building. So they're in technical compliance, air quotes. But and in his piece, he said experts are saying, this is horrifying, that while the projection was 300,000 new units over 10 years, more likely is 30,000, 1/10 as many. Yeah. We asked the AG about it the other day, and in fairness, she really didn't answer. What she said is there's just one of many, tools in the toolkit.
Right.
But it's not. Sadly, I thought it was great legislation. It's not producing the results.
Right. No, and I think other advocacy groups have pointed that out, that even if this was even if it was fully implemented, it would just still be a drop in the bucket. But now it's not even going to be fully implemented.
Can I call your kids to ask what they think about that tonight? Okay. So there is nobody who advocates more for diversity in public life, whether it's corporate boards, C-suites, or elective office. You wrote a great piece about, which really surprised me in a wonderful way, about the rise of Asian American pals off the effort. The lead is off the effort to replace Seth Moulton on the North Shore. Tell us what's going on.
So Seth Moulton is decided not to seek re-election. He's the North Shore congressman. Instead, he's going to challenge Senator Markey. Right. And a bunch of people have decided to run for a seat. And I think the front runners are actually two prominent Asian Americans. One is Dan Coe, former chief of staff to Boston Mayor Marty Walsh. He also went down to Washington with him to work for him.
Department of Labor,
Department of Labor. And then the other is Trom Nguyen, who is a state rep from Andover, and both of them are jumped in, and they're two rising stars, both from Andover, and they're vying for the district's first open Democratic seat in decades. And I think their candidacy really, I think all eyes are on the two of them because Tom McGee, who is the long time, he was state rep, right?
He was, yeah.
And also former mayor of Lynn, decided not to run, and so that really widened the field. Really allowed those two to really go to the front of the line here, because Trom is the only sitting legislator. She, I think, got an endorsement from UAW. Dan Coe has raised a lot of money, over $1 million.
Got a Kamala Harris endorsement almost right away.
Exactly. So it'll be very exciting to see those two run against each other, and also just really highlights the number of Asian Americans in the pipeline, in office. I mean, I was able to get a study from UMass Boston, and I think that it was like they found that this is from the Institute for Asian American Studies, that there are 116 Asian Americans serving as elected officials in Massachusetts right now. Nearly a quarter of them are on school committees, 14% on city councils, 11% on town select boards. I mean, I wanted to write this story because I think everybody gets the impression it's just Wu, right? It's just Mayor Wu.
Well, don't forget Phil Ang is the most beloved politician maybe in all of Massachusetts.
Right, not unelected, right.
That's right.
But it was really interesting working on this story, and the reason why there's so many Asian Americans in the pipelines, because the Asian American community has really built the political infrastructure, right? Between donors and mentors. A lot of it is also really led by Mayor Wu. Mayor Wu's ability to be the mayor, the first elected person of color, first elected woman, mayor, and first, of course, Asian American of Boston. And I think a lot of people are kind of riding her wings, riding on her wings.
Well, you read it. I mean, she's obviously just ran, the second time. I mean, she was basically unopposed after she walloped Josh Kraft in the primary. But this is kind of a moment for her kind of politics too, at least in Boston. She's obviously a big progressive, and so is Mandami in New York City. So it is, and her administration is a very young administration, and I suspect his will be too.
Didn't he say that his favorite sitting mayor was
Yes, during
Michelle
the debate,
Wu?
So we recorded a podcast with my colleague Abdallah Fayyad. He actually just came back to the Globe. He works for the Ideas section. He actually lives in New York, but he was up in Boston, and we recorded a podcast. We actually also live streamed it. The Globe Opinion section has a Substack, and so this is our first attempt at live stream Substack. But
how'd that go?
It was good. was fun. It was actually better than expected. But it was actually really, really fun talking about. I mean, we recorded it Wednesday, so it was a day after the Mondami's election
so
as
it's out now.
the mayor. Yeah, and so it was really exciting, to kind of talk about the race. And Abdallah was saying that during one of the primary debates, Mondami was asked, "Who is your favorite mayor?" And he said, "Mayor Wu." And if you think about it, and this is what we were doing, we were comparing, contrasting the two kind of millennial progressive mayors. A lot of the things that Mondami talked about on the campaign trail, free buses,
exactly, childcare,
universal childcare. What was there's one other thing.
Well, she's not in love with the grocery store thing. We've talked to her about that. But
there was one more thing. I'm having a senior moment here.
Well, I can't remember, but no, they have very similar agendas.
They're very similar agendas, and so we talked about whether whether Mondami will moderate, will become a little more moderate, because that's what happened to Wu. She was a little more moderate when she got into the.
Well, it's harder to get some of this stuff through. But when I did not realize until we were talking about Mondami that Bill de Blasio had gotten universal pre-K in New York City, which begs the question: if they can get it in New York City, why can't we get that?
We're
here?
pretty close here.
Yeah,
I mean, I think we're farther along than New York City, and so she's made great strides on getting more 4 and 5 year olds.
You know what they also have in common? I am a huge believer, and always have been, that people would prefer to hear a genuine politician who's telling the truth, even if they don't like what they're saying, than somebody who's trying to game them and BS them. 2 examples I'm just thinking about. One, Mayor Wu was here the other day, said outright, which I could not believe, she thinks Proposition 2.5, which is almost sacred, should be repealed. It's one thing to say, well, I think it's got to be looked at, it's got to whatever. To say, that was pretty courageous, whether you agree with her or not. And Donna, you mentioned, this is what made me think, we had Bill de Blasio on the show last week. De Blasio is one of the least popular former elected officials in New York City. When he was asked at a debate, who's your favorite living New York former mayor, without missing a beat, he said Bill de Blasio. And obviously that doesn't get you a lot of points, especially since anybody who voted de Blasio is voting for Mamdani, you would argue. But he was telling the truth. And, so even if it turns out it's not the, quote, truth you like, it is. I always cite an example that in 1990.
Oh, yes.
Well, this is a good one.
No, it's a good one.
Ray Flynn was in a Globe poll, I believe, the most popular mayor of Boston, the most popular politician, even though he was dead wrong on the 2 critical issues, according to the voters today. He was anti-choice and he was pro-tax. And the public was anti-tax and pro-choice. But most people thought this is the real deal. So I think that both of them are perfect examples of that. We're going to tell you exactly what we think kind of thing, which I think really matters.
Okay, so you weighed in on the Ben & Jerry's controversy. What'd you say?
So Ben & Jerry's, I had a chance to talk to Ben Cohen, who's one of the co-founders of Ben & Jerry's, and he's been in a fight with the parent company, and he has been trying desperately to try to engineer a buyback of the company. He sold it. He and Jerry, his partner, sold it long ago to Unilever.
Right?
Yeah, and they're very unhappy because they're being silenced. They feel that one of the deals was that when we sell the company, we can continue our social activism, whether it's talking about Palestine, or it's talking about abortion rights, or diversity, equity, and inclusion. And Unilever is really shut them down, and the independent board that oversees Ben & Jerry's has sued actually Unilever and something called Magnum, which is the new parent company, because they're spinning off. Unilever has spun off their ice cream brands.
But the thing I don't understand is they had it in writing, right?
They did. So
what's Unilever's argument?
I don't know.
We're not happy with it, so shove it, or what?
I mean, that basically they're just ignoring they're ignoring the agreement, which is actually very, very unusual. I didn't think that this agreement could stand, but good for Ben & Jerry's independent board. They're suing and they're taking them to court. So.
Well, also, wouldn't you say, I've never seen a poll, so maybe this is unfair to conclude. The ice cream's good. I mean, it's fine. It tastes good. I would assume a huge percentage of their business is people deciding, I'm going to go with an ethical brand. Some people who care about the same issues.
It's part of
that
their
I
DNA.
Care. Exactly.
It's good ice cream, but it's part of their brand, and so they can't easily give it up. And when I was talking to, business professors who study this, they said that, I think it's time for a corporate divorce, because it doesn't make any sense. I mean, the more that Ben Cohen and Jerry Greenfield, the founder, the more squawking, the more they're kind of raising a ruckus. It's bad for Unilever.
Yeah, it also seems like, what if Unilever worried that people are not going to buy these other products if they're standing up for something that's controversial? Is
Donald Trump, maybe.
Yeah, I think they're worried about Donald Trump. They're worried.
It's just incredible.
I remember one time they wanted to send a tweet out about after Trump's election, saying that there are some things that he doesn't stand for us, or we disagree with Trump, some of his policies, and they wouldn't let us send out the tweet.
So speaking of brand, Elon Musk's brand is $1 trillion. CEO salaries, I think it's fair to say, are totally out of control. We've talked in the past comparing CEO salaries in the mid-2020s compared to even 10 years ago, astronomically higher. The comparative level of the average CEO salary to the average worker, where the differential used to be something like, 30 or 40 times, is now 300 times. I don't even mean this as a joke. When somebody like Musk gets $1 trillion package, and in all fairness, he has to meet certain goals, which apparently are fairly bold, but still, he could end up with $1 trillion.
It's incredible.
Here, what is the trickle-down effect? Does a CEO sitting in an office building downtown say, my $27 million is not enough?
No, that's a real concern. Because that's how boards justify high pays.
Comparative stuff.
They look at comparables, but they're all comparables, and so it's actually outrageous and disgusting. I mean, even Pope Leo weighed in on this, saying that this is terrible, that this growing income, the growing disparity. And I think the medium Tesla worker earned around $57,000 in 2024, and so at least the shareholders didn't just roll over. I mean, at least there were some big shareholders who were quite upset about this and try to stop it. But I guess the ones that they won out. I guess Musk won out because they're hoping that if he can deliver everything that he said he would, it would make the company even richer and it would justify the $1 trillion.
The only thing that's good about it is it's such a jarring pronouncement. It's so excessive and disgusting, really, that I think it might. I mean, as we talked about yesterday, we've talked about this all week long, ever since the Mamdani win, that the income inequality is out of control. We need some regulation here in our capitalist society, and I don't know who's going to do it, but somebody's got to do it, or it's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse.
Right.
Okay, so before you go, since you have a 12 and 14-year-old, our topic for the end of the show with our listeners is going to be board games, because you probably know this week is the 90th anniversary of Monopoly.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Now, there is a wide divide. Marjorie's a big board game.
Well, not as much as I used to be.
But you used to be.
Yes.
Other than Clue, I have never enjoyed 1 minute sitting at a board game.
Really?
And I channeled my younger daughter, whenever she was losing a board game when she was 4 or 5 years old, would do what any honorable 4 or 5-year-old would do, turn the board over.
My kids have not done that yet.
I love her for that. She did it many a time. So where are you and the family on the board game thing?
My kids do love Monopoly. We play something called Sequence as well. We play cards, I wish we actually played more board games or more physical games.
Do you like them?
I do.
Why?
I don't know. They're just, because it gets them off their screens, of course.
Yeah. It's a vacation kind of thing, too. I think in the summertime when my kids were your age, card games went on all.
Yes.
I mean, they go to the beach, they come back from the beach, they eat lunch, they play card games, and they'd all fight over the card games, and they go back to the beach. And they still do when they get together, and it's kind of
Uno is always great.
Double solitaire, we call it cootie.
Horrible.
Gin rummy, poker.
Okay, enough of that. You're motioning in my direction, which I assume means you'd like to say something before we say goodbye.
I want to plug Boston Globe Summit.
Please do. Tell us about it.
It's our biggest live journalism event of the year. It's November 18th and 19th at the House of Blues in Boston. I'm going to be there, and it's just go to globe.com/summit for tickets. Globe subscribers get a special deal.
Oh, I'm a Globe subscriber, of course.
$50 one-day tickets. And that includes lunch. lunch and a beer and wine reception.
Oh, wow.
We feed you. But anyways, we're going to have really a great lineup of speakers, including Ben Cohen from Ben & Jerry's.
Great.
He'll be there. Also, he's going to do an ice cream social.
Oh,
so
that's
ask
great,
him anything.
actually.
We have the Dana-Farber CEO is going to be there. Harvard professor, American Book Award winner Sarah Lewis. Of course, Governor
wonderful.
Healy will be there. We'll have Globe Talent there. The DC Bureau Chief, Jackie Kucinich, will be there. She's going to be interviewing Ben Collins, the CEO of The Onion. And we'll have the creator of A Beautiful Resistance series, Janae Osterheld, will be there. Meredith Goldstein will be there, interviewing best-selling author Ellen Hildebrand. Her novel was made into, what was it?
The movie with
the Netflix series.
Yes, the Netflix series
Well,
about
she
Nantucket.
found a niche, or she
Oh my
found a
God!
niche?
Yeah, what
Oh
was
my
that
God.
called? That was so great.
Perfect Couple.
Yeah, with Liev Schreiber and Nicole Kidman.
Yes, that's right.
Boy, you know
that's
something?
right.
If you're sick in the weekend, you want to see some light as air kind of thing, but it's fun. That's
Hey,
it.
can you do us a favor?
Yes.
Since we just promoted the Globe
Yes.
Summit, your boss, Nancy, was
Nancy
supposed
Barnes.
to join us to
Yes,
talk about it.
yes.
She canceled on us.
Yes. She's
no
gonna,
rebooking. Where the
she's
hell
gonna
is
come.
she?
Oh, I will mention it to her.
Can you
I'll
let her know, please?
I'll let her know.
Okay.
I'll see if she can come next Friday.
Well, that'd be great. Okay,
Well,
book her
thank
for
you.
us.
That's going to be great. And
Shirley,
House
that's
of
fast.
Blues, what a great place to have it.
is.
What's the
Really
web
good.
address again for this?
Globe.com/summit.
Great.
You can go. You can buy tickets for in person, 18th or the 19th. You can also get virtual tickets for free. So check out our website.
Listen to you. That was an excellent sell on an excellent event. No, that was really.
You're going to hear it again next week.
I
too.
know we are.
Okay.
Thank you.
Shirley,
it's great to see you.
Thank you very much.
Shirley Leung.
Good luck with the boys. We've been
Good
speaking
luck with the boys.
We've been speaking with Shirley Leung, business columnist for the Boston Globe and host of the Say More podcast, available wherever you get your podcast. Yeah, Shirley's got a great podcast going too, in addition to her column. Coming up after this quick break, this week marks the 90th anniversary of Monopoly. I didn't know a lot of this stuff about Monopoly until today, Jim. We're going to tell everybody about it. But we're really using the Monopoly anniversary as a way to talk about what we just talked about with Shirley. Board games. Where are you with Monopoly or chess or checkers or Clue that Jim likes or backgammon or
Clue.
cards? Board games and you. Next, he's Jim Browdy. I'm Marjorie Egan. You're listening to BPR 89.7 GBH live from the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
Global pop star Rosalia is back with a new album, and it's her most ambitious yet, featuring 13 different languages.
I love people realizing that pop music can be great art, and that's something that's happening here.
I'm Juana Summers. NPR's Stephen Thompson reviews Rosalia's sprawling new record looks. That's on All Things Considered from NPR News.
Today at 4, here on GBH News 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And Mass Humanities, presenting Voices and Votes, Democracy in America, a Smithsonian exhibition in Holbrook now through December 13th, in collaboration with Massachusetts 250, masshumanities.org. And Mass General Brigham Health Plan, providing coverage plans for individuals, families, employers, and retirees with benefits that help you live in your moment. More at massgeneralbrighamhealthplan.org.
Welcome back to BPR. Marjorie Egan and Jim Browdy live from the library and streaming youtube.com/GBH News. What are you laughing about?
I'm laughing about people going, woo, from the
I think
audience
it was for you,
there.
not me, unfortunately.
Okay.
In any case, no library on Tuesday. The building's closed for Veterans Day. The mayor joins us on the 18th, noon to 1. Yo-Yo Ma joins us to perform and play on the 19th, following day. To end our week, we are celebrating or lamenting the board game Monopoly. As we said, it's celebrating its 90th anniversary this week. Whether you love the game or have deeply rooted trauma associated with it, now is your chance to voice those feelings, not just about Monopoly, but about board games in general, by calling or texting 877-301-8970. Your triumphs, how many loved ones you no longer speak to as a result of any board game, and whatever one. As I said to you, I have never, other than Clue, which I love to death, when I was a kid. Were you into board games because you wanted to entertain your kids, or because you actually liked board games?
Both. We did it when I was a kid growing up, and then I did it with my own children growing up. Backgammon, checkers.
Can I read
cards.
You something?
What?
I want to read you. I told you my younger daughter, who's now 31, would turn over a board. That's my kind of approach. My older daughter, you know this, for 2 years in a row, I think in July, is going to something called Gen Con in Indianapolis. It has 72,000 attendees. It's a board game convention. And exactly my reaction. I looked it up to make sure she was not embellishing. It's larger than the Indianapolis 500.
Wow.
72,000 people attend every year in Indianapolis. By the way, and they come back, she and her husband, totally ecstatic about the week-long experience.
They're really fun. I mean, did you read about this place in New York City?
Yeah.
This 500-person board game a night at this some office building in Midtown Manhattan. But they're talking about board game events and clubs have grown in popularity all across the country. So I guess it's not that unusual. And
when's the last time you played a board game?
Oh boy, I think I played cards this summer with my kids.
How old's your older granddaughter?
She's 4.
What does she play?
Well, I just got her a game of Chutes and Ladders.
Oh, well, that's horrible.
Yeah.
It's a nice thing on your part. But,
and when she's a little bit older, she'll play Candyland.
Yeah.
Don't you remember playing those games
unfortunately,
9,000 times with your children? But that gets them going. It's really fun. And I have this really precocious nephew. He's grown up now, but he used to go to casino. He was a chess prodigy. He was a genius. He played chess games at casinos and made thousands of dollars. He was really. I told you this. Yes, I have.
What's he doing now?
Well, he's working on Wall Street, Jim.
Okay. Well, I mean, natural.
But he's a great kid. He's a great kid.
Okay, so board games and you can love them, you can hate them, and you have to tell us why you fall into either camp. And by the way, I would like to like board games. It's not one of those things where I have my mind as stubbornly set as I do on so many things. I just get antsy after like 5 minutes. It's so slow.
Well, maybe you didn't play it when you were a kid. Did you play? I mean, you were a little lonely child there as an only child living in your high-rise apartment.
No, you know what happened? Actually, it's a really sad story. No, really sad story. I was playing Monopoly with a good friend, and I spilled some liverwurst on the board, so we had to get rid of it. I knew you were going to say that, so I figured I'd beat you to it.
Okay, so did you know this? I did not know this.
What is it?
That Monopoly gained its popularity during the Depression.
No.
When people were so upset about the Depression and being broke, Monopoly came out, and people could dream about,
a fantasy game.
living things on the boardwalk and stuff like that. Yeah, and Parker Brothers committed to formally launching it in 1935. They didn't think it would be so popular as it was, but that kind of makes sense. So we're kind of back. We're sliding into this, as we said before, this terrible income inequality thing. Maybe it's time for an updated Monopoly.
By the way, this anonymous texter, this doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's important to read anyway. Mr. Rowdy did it in the library, with the Eton crank radio. Oh, I just got it, actually. It's a clue thing. Sorry, it makes total sense. That's brilliant.
Well, that's because did. You should have left did. It's supposed to say Mr. Browdy in the library with the Eton crank radio.
I love
that's
that.
How you say
Why did I like that game?
Probably because you could win fairly easily.
Maybe so.
Yeah, you figured out how to win.
Did you like Monopoly at all? I
played Monopoly quite a bit.
And did you enjoy that?
I like Clue more often. I like that better than Monopoly.
I have a little factoid, Sam. We'll get to your calls in a second.
Backgammon?
You did?
Yes, I did.
I don't know how to play that.
And I was really good at cards.
Okay, good.
When I was a kid.
Okay, fine. Now, do you know what Monopoly was called when it was originally invented 90 years ago?
Well, they said
the Landlord's Game.
The Landlord's Game. They said it in one of these stories, I think, didn't they? Yeah, the Landlord's Game.
Well, that's how I found out, Marjorie.
Yeah, and they thought it wasn't going to sell at all. But at the height of the Great Depression, an unemployed salesman named Charles Darrow refined his own version, called it Monopoly, began selling it locally in 1933. Parker Brothers rejected it, but they changed their tune when their sales improved dramatically.
Isn't it owned by now that just moved or is moving to Massachusetts? Hasbro, right? It's a Hasbro thing?
I think so.
Okay, nobody cares about that either. 877-301-8970. We're focusing on Monopoly because it is the 90th anniversary. That's the news hook, as we call it. But where are you on the board game experience?
Don on the road just mentioned this. I remember during a power internet outage being saved by Scrabble, which kept that's another great game, which kept my family engaged for many hours.
I love Scrabble.
There's wax from the candles we had to light, which I refuse to clean off because it's a great memory. You think of board games a lot of times as things you do on vacation. If you go away skiing, the ski lodge always has these games.
Yeah.
I know you don't go skiing, but a lot of people do go skiing.
That's true, yeah.
And I told you they have that place on Beacon Street near Cleveland Circle. It's like a board game place. It's always packed. You see kids in there playing chess and checkers and all that kind of stuff.
What I've always wanted that maybe you could give me instead of like a salami for my birthday is I've always wanted a magnetic Scrabble. What is the point of magnetics?
Magnetic Scrabble?
Yeah, they make magnetic. Maybe that's because when you play in the car or something.
I guess you're playing on the beach, maybe? You don't want the little pieces?
In fact, I'll take the bacon instead.
Once again,
one second,
I am saddened that Jim Browdy can't enjoy something as easy and as simple as a board or card game aside from Clue. There are a few things what are the few things you do enjoy doing for fun, Jim?
No, read the last line. I won't be offended.
Such a stick in the mud.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad you're a fan. It means a lot to me. Laura in the car, you are next on BPR or first or something. Hi there.
Hi.
Hi.
I love this. This is such an awesome topic.
Great.
I love a good sorry game. It's so much fun. I love a good apple to apples game. I hate Monopoly and always have. And when I was a little kiddo, I feel like that's one of the only games we had for some reason. And I would buy up all the properties and turn them into national parks and not charge anybody for it. And it drove people bonkers for obvious reasons. I didn't make any money. And that was about it. And then I still to this day, I don't like playing it. I don't know. I just don't enjoy it.
I love your emotion in terms of those you loved and those you hate. That was a great call, Laura. Thank you very much for that.
A texture says, our blended family used to play Pictionary all the time.
Yeah, I played that
way
once.
back in the 80s. And somebody else says, isn't checkers the first board game we all play right after tic-tac-toe?
Yeah, that was horrible.
I mean,
too.
you're really
You like
little
checkers?
Yeah, I used to like checkers when I was a kid.
Do you play chess? I don't even know this.
No,
do you play
I don't.
Chess?
I do not know how to play chess.
either.
I do not. My children do, though.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Josh in Waltham, you would be next on the board game hour or half hour or something here on BPR. Hi.
Hello, Marjorie, and hi, Jim.
Hi, Josh.
Hi, Josh. That was
so great
good.
to talk to you.
What's up, Josh?
How's it going?
It's
excellent.
wonderful.
Thank you.
It's
Especially
wonderful.
now.
Really
Go ahead.
pleased to hear from you.
So here's the deal. I'm begrudgingly agreeing with Jim a little bit about the board game thing because I get antsy too. Like, I don't have the attention span to do a 7-hour campaign or even a 30-minute campaign to, win a country or whatever. I can't do that. But there's a big distinction between board games and card games and party games. Like,
That's
I
true.
love party games and card games. And also, I grew up next door to my grandparents. I was very lucky to have that upbringing. And it explains why I've always been a geriatric, white suburban man in a slightly younger body. So I've always been a big fan of cribbage. Do either of you play cribbage?
I did when I was younger with my grandmother.
Only once. I don't understand it very well.
Yeah, cribbage is fun, but again, it's usually 70 plus. But I do recommend for party games. Have you ever heard of Celebrity or Fishbowl?
Nope. Tell us.
Super fun. You don't need any materials. It's kind of like charades. Like Jim would break out into hives.
Oh, charades.
Charade. That is exactly
great.
right,
Oh,
Josh.
no, charades is so much
Horrible.
fun.
But go ahead.
I also want to give a shout out to Things as for a party game and Blank Slate, which is like match game. And those are my two favorite ones of the last decade.
Josh, that was an extraordinarily fine call. Thank you for making it.
You know what I read too? Speaking of older people games, Mahjong is coming back.
I think
big
it's
time.
only really old people play.
Yeah, and bridge kind of has disappeared.
And wasn't canasta what our grandparents? I have no idea what that is.
I don't
It's
know.
a card game of some sorts.
I don't know, but a lot of people used to play bridge.
Now we're talking board games, and Josh just brought up charades, which is not a board game. You
No,
like
it's a
that?
great game.
You like that?
Yeah, it's
What
fun.
do you like about that?
It's just fun to guess what
It
the
is?
person is. Yeah, people
No.
get up and they have a couple of beers. It gets really funny. Everybody laughs and jokes.
No, they
and
don't.
some people are good at it, and some people are really bad at it. And you know what else is another thing that it's not a board game, but it's similar to that. Jigsaw puzzles.
I sort of like a jigsaw
the
puzzle.
real wooden jigsaw puzzles.
Yeah.
We had tons of those in my house.
What's the problem with doing a jigsaw puzzle, which I think we're all have experienced?
Losing the pieces?
One, you do a 500-piece puzzle, you've done everything, and where's the final piece?
You can't find
Missing.
it. Yeah, you can't find it.
How horrible is that?
That's very
That's like
frustrating.
sadism on the
But
part of
they're
somebody.
usually really beautiful.
They're
you know?
beautiful.
Yeah, they are.
Well, they're not always beautiful.
Okay, a lot of people do those in the wintertime. I know
They
lots
do?
of people. Yes, I know that's a kind of a blizzard kind of thing. It's snow. A lot of board games are snow.
They are. Very
Things,
good
kind of
point,
things, or blizzard games.
Does any game move quickly that I might not lose? Like Josh admitted, even though he doesn't like me, Josh admitted that he wants a little more speed in his games.
Well, there's some card games that move very quickly.
Like what, for example?
Well, I explain it like it's double solitaire, but you get, solitaire,
I
right?
do know
So you get
solitaire.
4 people playing solitaire.
Oh.
You're trying to beat each other, getting
Well,
the
then it's not
cards out.
solitaire if it's
well,
4 people.
Well, I'm explaining that because the
sorry.
game is called Cootie. That's what
It is?
Yes, that's what it's called.
Okay.
But people beat each other, putting up the 1, 2, 3, 4, the ace of spades, and all that kind of stuff. Oh, Uno. Here's a good one. I play Uno with my son.
That's Jamie.
That's pretty. Oh, that's from Jamie.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's all right. He can text, I guess, too. He loves it because he can make me pick up 1,000,000 cards.
Right,
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I don't know that game either.
Oh, you don't Uno?
No, I don't know
Yeah,
any
the
of these
kids
games.
love Uno.
Okay, fine. Let's go to Lori in Attleboro. You're next on the board game thing here on BPR. Hi.
Hi, yes. We are a family of 4. My kids are 32 and 30, and we've always played board games. Our newest obsession is double dominoes.
What's that?
We discovered it when we were in New Hampshire. We were renting a house. And ever since then, we've taken it no matter what vacation we go to. And we love it so much. My husband and I each actually bought ourselves domino sets last year for Christmas.
Oh, that's actually
Okay, Lori,
that's moving.
isn't that one of the best things when if you
What
go
is?
to a ski house or you rent a place up in New Hampshire, Vermont, and go skiing for the weekend, or even just go in the summertime for Airbnb? They always have in the bookshelves all these board
They do.
games, right? And then you hang around on the back porch if it's nice weather, or inside if it's cold, and play board games. It's great.
Lori. You
Lori,
agree with
maybe-
her?
Maybe Lori's gone.
Yes, we've found many different board games that way.
That's right.
Renting different places.
That's excellent. Well, you and Marjorie apparently are in the same spot. You know what you could do instead of that? You can go out for a meal. You know? I'm serious. If you want fun, go to a restaurant and help a small business.
I'm not going to lie, it's a lot more fun, too, when you start drinking. So
that's right. It does
Lori,
help.
you came out of your shell there, Lori. Thank you. That's exactly
charades. Well, you have like nice hot toddies up at the ski lodge. What about one of the best games ever, says an anonymous texter? Searching for Harriet.
That's not, can we get through one segment without talking about this woman?
We are searching for Harriet.
Okay, fine. Let's leave it
We
there.
have some big news soon.
Thank you. Okay, let's hope not. Really hope not.
She could be coming.
By the way, I'm not going to name names, but in terms of searching for, we have a regular guest on the show who shall remain unnamed. She told us once that she went to the high school prom. I'll just give you the state in California with a huge celebrity.
That's right.
We had the huge celebrity on the phone. And we thought, boy, is this going to be great. So huge celebrity. Who did you go to the senior prom with? And he says, somebody. I said, you didn't go with X? And he said, who the hell is X? So that was, you never know if the past is going to live up.
It's bad. It's bad when you don't remember
in the future
who you went to the senior prom with.
Yeah.
That's kind of a big moment.
That is.
Jim went with Harriet.
No, I did not, actually. I went with Shari Leslie Siegel.
Shari
as you know, Shari Siegel. You were like, there's something like genetically wrong with you. What is so funny? What is so funny about that?
I don't know.
Because Marjorie went with the captain of the football team, who's now a billionaire. Why didn't she marry him?
He's not a billionaire.
I thought you told me he's a billionaire.
No, that was the guy at Stanford that was a billionaire.
Oh, so why didn't you go with him?
He was a surfer. Because he dumped me.
The
He
nude
dumped
surfer.
me. I tried. I got dumped.
What was his name? Howie.
No.
What was it?
I'm not going to tell you what
Tell
his
me
name
the
is.
name.
No.
It's in the book.
He's from Hawaii.
Her roommate wrote the book. If you're a new listener to the show, no, we're not. We're not.
Okay.
I don't remember her name, and Margie's not going to tell me. Her
That's
roommate
right.
in college is a best-selling author.
Yeah.
And one of the many books, she writes books like, what are the names of the books?
Well, surrendering to different things.
Surrendering to different things.
Like marriage and motherhood and middle age.
And in one of the surrendering things, Marjorie is
not true.
naked with her.
Not.
Oh, yes, you are.
Why do you always say this?
Because it's true. With a billionaire boyfriend next to his Woody station wagon.
If you want to say that, then you went to the prom with Harriet Heinemann, and you can't get away from it.
Nobody wrote a book about that, my friend. Rob from Ipswich.
In Ipswich.
Hi there.
Hello.
Hello.
I played in the world's first underwater Monopoly game.
You did not.
Oh, my goodness.
What was that like?
This was April of 1967.
Wow.
And we were doing it as my DMLA chapter was doing it in Beverly as a fundraiser for WGBH.
No.
True story. And it is written up in the Monopoly book by Maxine Brady. What we did was every spring we would have this fundraiser for a good cause, and this time it happened to be WGBH. And so one of the activities we did was there was billiards, and a marathon, a bowling marathon, et cetera, et cetera. And there was also a Monopoly marathon. And we decided, since a number of us were scuba divers, wouldn't it be fun to do this underwater?
Sure.
So we went to Parker Brothers, who were located in Salem at the time, and we told them our idea, and they thought it was wonderful. So they put 2 guys on it full-time for 3 weeks, and they built a underwater Monopoly game set that weighed 43 pounds, and we were able to play at the bottom of the New England Divers swimming pool in Beverly.
Oh, my God.
That is a fabulous story. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We played in 1 hour shifts. We'd go down for an hour, 2 of us, and then the next 2 would go down and tag us, and then the next 2 would go down, and there were 6 of us in all playing, and we set the original world's record for underwater Monopoly at 11 hours, and Arnie Ginsberg was there at the time.
This is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now, when you say you set the original world record, who else cared enough to try to break the world record?
Jim.
No, I don't mean that. That didn't come out right. That really
didn't come out
right. Who? Let me rephrase that. Who was bold enough to try to break the world record?
None taken.
Good. Thank
well,
you.
what happened was we didn't get to keep the game set.
Oh.
Parker Brothers kept that.
That's sad.
But they wouldn't let anybody else use it for a year.
Wow.
And then at that point, various diving clubs all over the place started using that same game set.
Yeah.
And everything was laminated, magnetic. The dice were made out of steel cubes.
Wow.
So the suspense is killing me. Has anybody broken your record from the 60s
Oh,
yesterday?
yeah.
Oh, they have?
Many times. Many times.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that?
Oh, I'm fine with that. We had it for a year. And that's not the kind of thing you want to do on a regular basis.
No, I got it. Rob, can I tell you, that was one of the best history things
That was a great call.
we've ever had. Thank you for that, Rob in Ipswich.
Okay.
He was the first person ever to do underwater Monopoly.
I know.
Do you know that?
In a pool in Beverly.
Pool in Beverly.
1 hour shifts for DMLA.
11
And
hours.
WGBH, which is wonderful.
That
By the
is
way, people
really
have
nice.
mentioned other games. Risk.
I liked
Parcheesi,
that once.
Trivial Pursuit. Several people are mad that we didn't give enough play to Elizabeth Magie, M-A-G-I-E. Well, she's the one that had the original Monopoly game. They used to call it, you mentioned the Landlord's Game. That's what they called her game. And she started this back at 1903 to illustrate property concentration. And then, but it really became refined by this Charles Darrow guy when the Depression came along and it started selling like hotcakes. But Elizabeth M-A-G-I-E, listeners are correct, it was originally called the Landlord's Game and it inspired Monopoly.
It's amazing.
Okay. 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon is a fun car trip game. Someone names a movie and you have to relate it back to Kevin Bacon in 6 scenarios.
Really?
You ever played that?
No.
Okay.
And by the way, can I tell you right now?
What?
I'm not playing it either, just so you're clear. So don't ask me in a
Thank
few
you,
months.
Marjorie, for your genuine enthusiasm about board games. They are fun! Exclamation point, exclamation point. Sorry, Jim doesn't get it.
Wendell, you're in Rowan.
You're a fun guy.
No, I just don't like board games. I like plenty of other things.
Pinochle.
I don't know how to play Pinochle.
Neither do I.
Rowan, take it away. What's up?
Yeah, just one extra thing to add about the original version was
Please.
that Elizabeth had made 2 sets of rules for it.
Yeah.
The one we all know, which is competitive,
Yeah.
and a separate set that was more cooperative. And
like Harmony Monopoly.
Together.
What happened to
I
that?
do not know where the original rules can be found, but I know we have found them online at various points to play her other version. And the one additional piece of information is that the rules we all know as Monopoly, she had made on purpose to make people frustrated, to showcase the negative aspects of property ownership.
Oh, wow. Now, let me ask you something, because you know a lot about this. When was the last time you played underwater Monopoly, Rowan?
Never done that, but my 7-year-old is a huge fan of above water Monopoly. So,
that's fabulous. That's great.
We play whenever he can get us to.
Say hi to your 7-year-old. We really appreciate the call and the history lesson. Thank you, Rowan.
Boy, people are sending names of games I've never heard of.
Let's hear them.
Quirkle?
Nope.
Bananagrams?
Oh, sure. Bananagram.
I never knew about that.
I played that, yeah.
I never. Montserrat College of Art in Beverly has a terrific major called Games and Play. Students design new games, both digital and traditional.
You know what that's like? What was your major at Stanford again? Some ridiculous...
Altered states of consciousness.
Yes.
Oh, my major?
Yeah.
That was my major. I took a class called Altered States
right, exactly.
of
That's the
Consciousness.
same kind of thing.
Because if you go to college in California, Jim, that's what you have to do. Altered
and what was your
states of
ridiculous major?
It wasn't a ridiculous
what
major.
Was it?
American Studies. It wasn't a ridiculous
what
major.
Is that? That's like everything,
American
including
art,
geography,
American literature,
geography,
American music. It was a catch-all.
Yeah,
it was a catch-all. That's what it was.
Okay.
Okay. Heidi in North Reading. Thank you for calling.
Hi, Heidi.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, we're thrilled to do it. Welcome.
I have two games that one of our sons introduced us to that are excellent.
What are they?
One is called Code Names.
Code Names.
Yeah.
And the other one is called Decrypto.
And why are either of them fun? Give us like the highlight.
Jim is really excited.
No, Heidi, I think may be on to something. Go ahead, Heidi. Tell me.
Yeah, they're really different. They're a little bit more cerebral.
Oh.
They're like word games.
I sort of like word games.
Code Names is you just spread a whole bunch of cards with very generic words on them, everyday words, and then you have to give a clue that your partner is going to be able to pick the most words on the table.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, I will try. What's that called again?
Code Names.
Code Names.
Okay. Thank
Marjorie
you very
and I are
much,
going to hook
Heidi.
up this weekend. We'll go to like some coffee shop and we'll play Code
John
Names.
in Beverly summed up
Thank
this
you,
whole
Heidi.
segment
That was excellent. What did he say?
By saying Jim Browdy had to be the kid who always took his ball home. What a bore. Okay, fine.
That happens to be true, and what's the problem with that? Okay, first of all, Howie, who is gone, brought you a dozen half cut,
I know.
whatever.
I appreciate that very much.
No, I'm talking to him.
Oh, okay. I mean,
this is what a donut is.
That's a good one, Jared.
Jared.
That is rather sad.
Where are you with board games?
I love board games.
I knew it.
I knew it.
By
Okay.
the way.
I love Monopoly. I love Sorry. I love Clue.
Yeah.
Sorry is a really fun game.
Sorry's a really good game.
I play that every summer.
That's great.
Who's your favorite when you get to play Clue? If you get to pick your player, who is it?
Well, you kind of want to be Miss Scarlet.
Miss Scarlet,
Colonel
absolutely.
Mustard. Everybody. Colonel
Mustard.
Yes.
Jim must be.
That's like the
Colonel Mustard.
Why would you not want to take?
Okay.
Really?
All right, Colonel Mustard.
That's tied with Professor Plum.
I love Professor
Plum.
Plum.
Of course you do.
Of course I do.
Okay, what's on your show?
What's on your show?
So the Grammy nominations came out this morning.
Oh, great.
We'll talk about those. Who are the snubs, the changes. Do you know there's a new category for album art this year?
Oh, I actually did know that.
It's been 50 years since they've just focused on album
Well,
art.
that's a great idea.
Yeah. Bad Bunny did well. Lady Gaga did well. So we'll talk about all of that.
Don't you hope that Bad Bunny sings only in Spanish at the Super Bowl?
I hope so.
Don't you really hope to piss everybody off?
That's going to happen.
Oh, my God. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We're going to talk about someone who has never had a movie of her own. She's finally going to have a movie of her own, Miss Piggy.
Oh!
Jennifer Lawrence and Emma Stone are involved.
Oh,
so
my
this should
God.
be great, as well as Cola Scola behind O'Mary. And then we'll talk about a German grumpy guide. This is the hit in this German museum, a guide who
Jim,
treats...
you should go there.
That's funny. I am the guide.
That's right.
Who did it? Jim Browdy dressed as Colonel Mustard,
Colonel
Mustard
in the gallery.
library.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
bye. Enough of you. Thank you very much. 2 o'clock live right here at the library.
Thank you for listening to another edition of Boston Public Radio. Thanks to everybody who came down to the Boston Public Library. I really appreciate it. You keep up with us 24/7 by way of our podcast, or check out our TikTok page at Boston Public Radio. Monday, we're going to be joined by the former editor of the Boston Globe, now head of Boston University Journalism, Brian McGrory, food analyst Corby Kummer, Boston Medical Center's Dr. Catherine Gergen Barnett, and Beautiful Way Foundation's Tamika Jackson. We'll tell you all about that on Monday. Chef Ken Oringer on his latest venture,
great.
Guitarra and Guitarra Pastaria, where he makes pasta with the help of an autism spectrum workforce. Our crew: Zoe Matthews, Aidan Conley, Nicole Garcia, Hannah Loss. Our engineer is John the Claw Parker. Our executive producer is Jane Bologna. Special thanks to our BPL staff: Maddie Carr, Patrick Lally, Bill Francis, Juan Jose Cadena.
Don't read that. I'm telling you. We're going to get in trouble. Do not read it.
To our hosts
Don't read it.
at the Newsfeed
Keep
Cafe
talking till the show's
across the
over.
street. Stay tuned for the Culture Show.
Don't read it.
I am Marjorie Egan.
Really don't read it. I'm Jim Browdy.
Jim Colonel Mustard.
No, don't read it. I know what. It's a line crosser.
It's a line crosser.
Have a wonderful weekend. Tell people have a wonderful
Did
weekend.
I cross a line?
No, not what you said. What the text says. Okay.
Oh.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm not going to read
goodbye.
that. Okay.
Have a great weekend. Stick around for Jared and crew and whatever.
Colonel.
Okay, thanks.
I'll see you Monday.
That's really funny. I'm
Bye.
laughing a lot. Goodbye.
Bye.
What's trending? What's interesting? What's going on around town? We're talking all things arts and culture on The Culture Show, next on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And Minus 33 Merino Wool in Ashland, New Hampshire. Since 1916, makers of all-natural merino wool underwear, outerwear, and New Hampshire-made socks. Their merino wool clothing and accessories are available at minus33.com. Air Force vet Stacy Pearsall travels across the country to talk with those who've served about their military life before, during, and after action. Watch After Action tonight at 6 on GBH 44.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Jared Bowen. This is The Culture Show. Coming up today, the Grammy nominations are out, and for the first time in 50 years, they're awarding Outstanding Album Art. Consider the iconic covers: Abbey Road, Thriller, Nirvana's Nevermind. And who can forget Spinal Tap's controversial cover for their album, Smell the Glow.
You put a greased, naked woman on all fours with a dog collar around her neck and a leash. And a man's arm holding on to the leash and pushing a black glove in her face to sniff it. You don't find that offensive?
Then from bad taste to good looks, People magazine has crowned Bridgerton star Jonathan Bailey the wicked sexiest man alive. Okay, just sexiest, but it makes him the first openly gay man to receive the honors.
So in 2025, you just think, I'm sort of thrilled that People magazine have invited someone in to bestow this honor on someone who can really cherish the value of a sexy man.
Then move over leading men, the diva-est diva of all divadom is heading to the big screen.
I am proud to be called a diva. A diva is simply someone who knows who they are, what they want, and how to get it.
Miss Piggy is getting her own feature film.
I was wondering if you could look into the camera and just tell your millions of fans, something from you.
I'm sorry, millions?
Millions.
Billions. Sorry, I don't mean to correct, but...
Plus, in the aftermath of the Louvre heist, a security audit reveals that the museum's secret password for their surveillance system was Louvre. But are those strong password generators any more secure?
Sometimes they offer a password. That's kind of humiliating. Hey, dummy, you want us to just give you a password? Doesn't that defeat the whole point? You can trust us. We're a faceless algorithm created by a multinational corporation.
And so much for letting sleeping dogs lie. The GOAT, Tom Brady, has cloned his late dog for a genetic comeback. Is this an ethical fumble or a winning play?
Just because you're cloning your beloved Fifi or Fluffy or whatever it is, does not mean you're going to get Fifi or Fluffy back. They are their own pets, they have their own personalities, and they don't usually even look the exact same.
We take on that and more right now on our Arts and Culture Week in Review.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
Now that looks like a fast dog. Is that faster than a greyhound? Let me ask you this, if you're going to put him on a football team, which would be your wide receiver, which would be your tight end? Who can go the farthest, the fastest?
Well, I don't know any dogs that play football.
Welcome to the Culture Show, live from the Boston Public Library. I'm Jared Bowen.
I'm Lisa Simmons.
And I'm Edgar B. Herwick III.
We're going over the week's top arts and culture headlines, starting with the Grammy nominations. They were announced just a few hours ago, and music's biggest night is already shaking things up. For the first time in 50 years, the Recording Academy is honoring album art alongside Album of the Year. And there are big changes in the country categories, too. The field's been split to recognize both traditional and contemporary country. So the big story is sort of a repeat story, actually. Kendrick Lamar with 9 nominations is leading. Lady Gaga right behind with 7. Bad Bunny and Sabrina Carpenter with 6 each. We had K-pop Demon Hunters. Yeah. Their domination continues.
The Biebs.
They picked up some nominations, and I want to quickly, before we cover some of these other categories, mention Terry Lynn Carrington over at Berkeley got a nomination this morning. We're so happy for her.
Excellent, yes, she should.
Boston Symphony Orchestra, especially for their Shostakovich recordings, they picked up a number. The Boston Early Music Festival, and there's even a Supreme Court justice in the mix with Ketanji Brown Jackson in the audio category for her lovely one, a memoir.
And Timothy Chalamet.
That's
who got nominated for his work on A Complete Unknown soundtrack.
That's
so
true.
Chalamet gets his first Grammy nomination. World domination ahead for Chalamet.
But who didn't get in again this year?
You or me or Jared?
Me, right, because I have an amazing voice. The Weeknd.
Yeah.
Another snub. Another year, another snub.
Right after he was there performing last year, and everybody thought that was his entree back into the Grammys.
This whole political thing. I think he's done. He's done with it.
So let's dive into what a lot of people are wondering about, which is this division of country categories and how this has evolved. And I think a lot of Beyonce probably had a lot to do with this, with her album last year. Remember, she was snubbed by the Country Music Academies, but not by the Grammy Awards. And so, as I said in the intro, they have split it up between contemporary album and traditional album. So let's give a little taste. Here's South of Sanity by Zach Top from his album Ain't In It For My Health, which was nominated for Best Traditional Country Album.
But I'm somewhere outside of Missoula. They just called my name from the stage. When we hung up, she was...
And so then here's a bit from Everyone Bleeds by Jelly Roll from his album Beautifully Broken, which was nominated for Best Contemporary Country Album. What is doing here and what this means culturally, too.
So there's a few things. One, it seems like if you have a pedal steel guitar on it, it's going to go in the classic category, the traditional category. Yes. If you don't, it's going to go in the contemporary category. No. I actually think you hit the nail on the head by bringing up Beyonce, because on the one hand, I look at this and I say this is a natural evolution, and it's fine. I think for a long time, if you look at country music, like any genre, is always changing and moving, and I think that's generally a good thing. But it's also, all of these genres are parsing. It's a little bit like borders. Like humans invent borders, and we say this state sort of stops here and this state begins there. But nature doesn't invent borders, so to speak. And I think music actually moves across genre and talks to each other in ways that are well more nuanced than the genres that the Grammy is kind of putting out there. And I look at what they've had, which is, they've already sort of parsed it out. There's like a roots category. There's an Americana category. I'm not sure what the differences are there. So on the one hand, I look at it and say, okay, I see that. For a long time, I think a lot of the country music that I hear, I kind of go, well, that just sounds like pop music to me. Fine. for me it raises an eyebrow is when this finally comes on the heels of Beyonce and Shaboozey, who are black artists, who had challenged the notions of what we are calling country music. And so to me it's a little troubled. The timing is a little troubled.
But we also have to remember that Beyonce did say this is not a country album. So this is interesting that you're both saying it's on the heels of Beyonce and Shaboozey, because what they're saying is it's not about that. It has nothing to do with that. It's about honoring the roots and the lineage of country music itself. You can totally hear the difference. You can totally, I mean, a country album has that traditional, it's live, it's got lyrics, it's got storytelling. Not that contemporary doesn't. But contemporary, right, has that whole synthesizing of it. So I do understand it. I can see that. Country, as you said, is a huge, broad category now. And so there needed to be some delineation to pay homage to like the Patsy Clines and those others that have come before them. That it's sort of, as you said, it's sort of like this genre blending that Beyonce did. I think it's interesting that Taylor Swift won the Country Artist of the Year award when she does that blending as well. She's not a traditional country artist. So I feel like I do think it has something to do with that and the whole Beyonce and this isn't a country album, but I also do think that they're trying to grab back to those traditional country roots.
Which is perfectly fine. That's the part where I'm totally okay with it. And I think, like I said, these things are always moving and changing. I mean, if you go back and listen to early rock and roll, and it doesn't sound anything like what we call rock and roll now.
Well, yeah, it's
or
also
R&B,
subjective.
It's the same.
Because even though Beyonce might not call it a country album,
it was a country.
For most of it was. I agree, some of it morphed into something different by the end of the album, but it's certainly started out that way. And if Dolly Parton is participating and others, it's kind of a country album.
I think exactly. I think it's going to be interesting to see what other changes, and we're going to talk about some of those other changes that I think are going to really push the envelope on country music and just music in general.
So what do we think about the album art of the year, which is, I kind of had not because there was sort of a category that dealt with this in terms of how packaging was created, but when you think of how emblematic album covers are and our association with singers and songs and times, I think are so associated with album covers. It seems almost ludicrous that they took so long to figure this out again.
It's very Grammy, right? It's like they always seem to be lagging a little bit behind what's actually happening.
I know, but in 1959, there was an award for Best Album Cover, and it was Frank Sinatra who won it for Only the Lonely. So this isn't the first time. But for me, I read about this, and I'm like, but album covers have been part of music forever. I mean, remember you used to get your album, you used to unwrap it, you used to read the lyrics, it was so much a part of the music itself. So the fact that they're coming out and saying, now we're doing album art, it's like we all grew up with album
and album art. To your point, Jared, for a long time it's been such a big part of the experience, right? Like across all genres, right? But I do think this is not coincidental. When we talk about timing, I think you had, one of the great losses when we moved out of the initial album era and into the world of CDs and tapes as the medium that most people were buying, is that album art shrunk, right? It wasn't the size of an LP, which is where all of that great effort was being put into the artistic presentation. Now, vinyl sales, we've got a couple years running now where they've been back up. When people put new albums out, they're putting them out on vinyl. And so I don't think it's coincidental because vinyl has had a resurgence that you're now seeing the Grammy saying we ought to do something about album art because it's bigger again.
And it's art.
Well, and it's in our cars. Every time a radio station pops up and the singer pops up, it pops up in your car, it pops up on your phone, it pops up everywhere. So, it's high time.
No, I think it's exciting. I think it's very exciting. I love that it's coming back because you couldn't, hang CDs on your wall.
Yeah. Not the same way. I mean, people did.
Not
you could, but it's not the same.
No.
And they're great. The nominations, if you take a look at the ones that have been nominated, I think we might have some images.
Yeah, if you're watching on our GBH News YouTube channel.
Yeah. I mean, this is Andre 3000's record, right, which is nominated, I think. They're fantastic art. Yeah. Cool photo. That looks like it could have been from 1969 or 71.
No,
right?
exactly. I think it's exciting. I think that it's always trying to be more relevant, right?
Well, we have some other images that everybody has just been dying for the world to see.
When you say everybody, Jared, does that include you?
Well, this includes everybody at the Culture Show,
That's
Edgar.
True. Yeah, no, that's fair.
Award season isn't just for musicians. People magazine is out with its annual honor, crowning Bridgerton star Jonathan Bailey the sexiest man. Well, Lisa, somebody get this woman some ice. He is the sexiest man alive, according to People magazine. The British actor, soon to appear in Wicked for Good, makes history as the first openly gay man to earn the title. Known for his charm on screen and advocacy off it, Bailey's anointment marks a modern turn in who gets to define a leading man. I'm getting choked up a bit. It's a good thing we have water right here. But yeah, so among the Culture Show team, everybody dove in to pick the Jonathan Bailey images that we could show. I think what's so great about him is that of course, he's strikingly handsome and good looking, but he also just seems to be incredibly affable. Clearly, his dog loves him, as People magazine, because that's his own dog that he's on their People magazine cover with. His dog is keeping him warm. That's why he doesn't have a shirt on.
Not a cloned dog, but
No,
the
presumably.
actual
We'll get to that
original
later
dog.
in the show.
Well, apparently that's the first person, animal, whatever, he told about becoming the sexiest man alive.
Oh, right, because he has to keep it secret.
He has to
for a
keep it
little
secret
bit.
for long, so the only person he could tell was his dog. I mean, I think this is great. I think it's about time, just like the album cover art, right? That it's been 40 years. He's so versatile. I mean, Bridgerton catapulted him. Now Wicked's going to completely catapult him, and I think he's just. He's a great actor, right? And it's like, putting this whole other spin on masculinity, right? And we talked about this before with adolescence, with Timothée Chalamet, with the roles that are coming out of Hollywood for men, and sort of like, toning down that toxic masculinity, but really giving the opportunity for men to have feelings and men to, not be that.
Yeah, I mean, I think these awards are obviously, these are a mirror on society, right? They're not about who, at any given time.
They're not?
There are so many sexy men walking the face of the earth in so many different kinds of ways, right? But
so many here.
When when a magazine like People says this is the sexiest man alive, what they are saying something about where we're at as a society and who being sexy is for. And I think in that regard, this is very important, right? Because I think for a long time, and it took them a while to, have somebody who wasn't a white person as the sexiest man alive, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think this is a moment where it's like, what started as largely straight white women find sexy has broadened and broadened and broadened, and I think this is yet another broadening. So that's good, right?
It's also interesting to mark, talking about that trajectory, this is the 40th anniversary of The Sexiest Man Alive. 40 years ago, it was Mel Gibson, and now, flash forward, apparently there are no sexy men in America. That's what I'm just putting together.
Yeah.
We have the Australian Mel Gibson, we have the British Jonathan Bailey.
Right.
We did have Newton's own Jonathan Krasinski last year.
That's true. No, I think this is great. And I do think that People magazine, just like anyone else and everyone else, are rebranding, are understanding that their demographic is also changing.
Also, I just thinking about, so his reaction. So he says, I had the radio, he was talking, so here's an interview with him, not about becoming sexiest man, but generally when he realized he was becoming a bigger star, right? He says, I had the radio set for my alarm, and one morning it went off, and they said, here's the news at 7, but before we go, can we just talk about Jonathan Bailey? And I was like, where's my journal? Is this real? It's wild. And I think to myself, this guy, not only is he great looking, but he listens to the news in the morning. He gets up at 7. He journals. I'm like, this guy is impossibly perfect. Who is this man?
No, he is.
And
he
has a sense of humor too, because here he is on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and Fallon asks him where he was when he got the news that he is the sexiest man, and he says he was deep in the zone, actually, playing Richard II.
Oh, of
so
course.
The only thing madder than doing Richard II was to be invited into this. And also, in 2025, you just think, I'm sort of thrilled that People magazine have invited someone in to bestow this honor on someone who can really cherish the value of a sexy man.
Yes. Goodness. Also, the British are so good at saying something without saying anything. It's just like a bunch of beautiful words said beautifully.
Well, you can have the sexiest voice alive, too.
You could. You would probably win that as well.
Yeah, also, the last thing before we leave this, you can only be an actor, apparently, to get this. We don't have the sexiest firefighter alive. We don't have the sexiest train conductor alive.
I think you should
I
write
think
to
Adam
People
Levine
magazine.
won it one year, so he's a musician, quote unquote.
But he's been on screen.
But he's been on screen. Celebrity.
You don't have the sexiest culture show host alive.
Great point. Let's get the lobbying. Let's start the lobbying.
You know what? We can hand out paper here right now and see what
paper ballots.
Paper ballots.
All right, well, let's move on to somebody else who deserves a lot of attention, and this is a diva alert for everyone, because Hollywood's most glamorous sow is going solo. Miss Piggy, an indomitable star of The Muppets, is finally getting her own feature film. Oscar winners Jennifer Lawrence and Emma Stone are producing, with a script by Tony Award winner Cole Escola, from Oh Mary, of course. Now the pressure is on Miss Piggy to bring home the bacon with a box office blockbuster. So this kind of snuck out in the best way. By the way, again, if you're here at the library, you can watch it on our monitors, or if you're streaming on our GBH News YouTube channel and you've moved beyond Jonathan Bailey, you'll find the most recent images that we could dig up of Miss Piggy, who has long been trying to get herself in front of the spotlight. There's no mention of Kermit here at all.
No.
But as I started to say, this snuck out on a podcast when Jennifer Lawrence and Emma Stone kind of revealed, more Jennifer Lawrence revealed, and then revealed further that Cole Escola is writing this. Of course, Cole Escola took Oh Mary from this little off-Broadway theater where, again, I have to point out that I saw it there. I told everybody to see it, and only like 2 people listened to me and actually went before it transferred to Broadway. But they have an extraordinary voice in terms of finding humor and sauciness and just moving the form forward. So this seems like a dream team, because it also sounds like Emma Stone and Jennifer Lawrence will also be in the film.
I know. I mean, I think this is, we need this. Do we not need this?
We absolutely
need this. And finally, after how many years, and then she gets her own solo show. I love the fact that she started in the as a chorus pig. Did you know that?
Yes.
In the mid-1970s. She started this is what happens. Stick with it, folks. Stick with it, because you too can become this big diva. But what I also love,
she only had to wait 50 years. Next year is the 50th anniversary.
You know what? Sometimes you just gotta wait. But one of the things I love about this is that she's a complex character. So that's why I love that Jennifer Lawrence and Emma Stone are doing this, because they're not going to hit on her comic side. Obviously, they are going to do that a little bit, but they're talking about her ambitions, her self-mythology, her drama, her romance, her flaws, her confidence, because she's very confident. So they're going to bring all that out of Miss Piggy. So I can't wait to see what this script is going to be.
Well, let's have a little reminder of that before we get to you, Edgar. Here's Miss Piggy working the perfume counter at a department store alongside Joan Rivers in The Muppets Take Manhattan.
Get your new French perfume here, Cal de France. Is something wrong? Can we talk?
No, I'll be fine. I'll be just,
Sorry.
Get your Cal de France. It's French. It's feminine. It'll help you grab one of those rotten, stinking men. Cal de France.
Piggy, please. You were fine this morning. Did something happen at lunch?
My frog turned on me.
Yeah, I had some bad tuna myself.
I'm gonna fight for him, though. I mean, do you think I'm pretty?
Of course you are. You're more than pretty.
Gorgeous?
Don't push it, Pig.
So that was a number of years ago.
Yeah.
Some pretty relevant themes there.
Definitely relevant themes, and seriously a complex character. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said it's a dream team. I love the people involved in this, and I think it's interesting because when you look at the Muppets, which you so closely identify, and understandably, with Jim Henson and of course Frank Oz, who voices Miss Piggy, and for years was the sort of they were the team at the center of a great small band of people who really put together a very unique brand of entertainment. And I think, there have been multiple times since Jim Henson's death, I think, to try to reboot the Muppets or present them again. And I don't know that anybody's really nailed it. Up to and including like Jason Segel, who I was really excited when he took over and did those films. I think they were okay. I think they were, kind of in the right spirit, but they didn't quite get there. And I would love to see somebody really capture one of the characters of the Muppets, like Miss Piggy, and really kind of do something great with them. And I have a lot of confidence that this team will do that.
Well, and let's hear a little bit from Cola Scola. We'll get right back to you, Lisa, because people who haven't seen O'Mary or seen Cola Scola's skits on YouTube or some of the shows may not understand the sensibility, but here they are on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert a few months ago discussing what they hope to do after the Tony-winning Broadway hit O'Mary.
I'm dying to play a straight guy.
Okay.
I really want to play a straight guy.
Any particular, or you just want to?
No, it's just I have this straight guy that I like, and people never think to cast me as a straight guy. And
you have this straight guy? I mean, you have a character who's straight?
Yeah. Can I show?
I would be honored.
Okay.
I'd be honored.
So, yeah.
Do you want to just do him and I'll interview this guy or something?
No, because I can't, I only know how to say a couple things.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So, there's this, do you know eggs are actually bad for you? Wait, what kind of truck is that? The key is, you have to keep in your mind enunciating is gay.
So this is just giving voice to Miss Piggy.
I love that. But, this is part of a larger Muppet redo, right? So when we're talking about someone else coming on and, like, sort of, putting their new spin on the Muppets, I mean, it's Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. So that's going to be amazing to see what they do with this next iteration of the Muppets.
Yeah,
I mean, they're incredible writers. The studio's an amazing show. I think we're in for some really great.
I do too, and
TV.
like I said, I think one of the most important sort of aspects of the Muppets is the zany madcap thing, and I think again, Cola Scola. I think about Emma Stone when she really pushes it. I think about Jennifer Lawrence. I mean, that zaniness, that kind of unbridled energy. I think it's going to translate.
Yeah,
it's kind of. It already feels like a late night party in Hollywood with the coolest fun people in Hollywood.
So 2026.
All right, well, coming up in Dusseldorf, museum goers are lining up to be insulted. A grumpy guide there is turning rudeness into art all its own. Stay tuned to The Culture Show. That's coming up next.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
I'm Arun Roth. Coming up on GBH's All Things Considered, we'll have the latest on the shutdown delays and canceled flights at Logan. And she's redefining what magic can be and what magicians can be. From the street to the stage, from MIT to the International Championships of Magic, this week's Joy Beat honors Boston's own Felice Lang. Those stories and all the day's news starting at 4 on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And MIT Federal Credit Union, committed to helping homeowners make use of the equity in their home by offering personalized solutions with an MIT FCU home equity loan. NMLS number 699225, federally insured by NCUA. And Thrive Next Gen, delivering comprehensive AI strategies for businesses, from initial planning and data security to full deployment with managed AI. More information is available at thrivenextgen.com/NPR. And Forge Heat Pumps in Newton. Forge's in-house team designs and installs all-in-one heat pump systems that deliver heating and cooling year-round. Details at forgeheatpumps.com.
Here, local isn't a buzzword, it's our beat. We're on the ground, in your neighborhood, covering the issues that impact you. GBH News 89.7, gbhnews.org, and streaming on the GBH app.
I'm Jared Bowen. This is The Culture Show, live from the Boston Public Library and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. If you're just tuning in, it's our Arts and Culture Week in Review. I'm joined by co-host Zeger B. Horick III and Culture Show contributor Lisa Simmons. We're going over the latest headlines, which includes Egypt's new mega museum. After decades of planning and construction, the Grand Egyptian Museum in Cairo has finally opened. The epic space stands just outside the pyramids, and for the first time ever, the full contents of King Tutankhamun's tomb are displayed under one roof. With some 100,000 artifacts, cutting-edge galleries, and a $1 billion investment, the museum is hailed as a triumph of culture and ambition. This is so exciting, and it's just such a wonderful story because they have been working on this since at least the 1990s, and it's the first time that Egypt has been able to step forward in a really major way and show the entirety of their just extraordinary holdings, which are coveted around the globe. We'll get back to some of that coveting and what maybe should return in a moment. But it's just lovely to understand what this museum is. And if you can see images, we have some of them that we're streaming. This is a gorgeous design. They had so many architects the world over who submitted designs, and they landed on this massive vision that echoes the pyramids. It pays homage to the pyramids by its proximity, to say nothing of what's housed inside.
Unbelievable. I mean, 2 decades in development of this. For all sorts of reasons, it didn't come to fruition, but within those 20 years. But what is amazing to me is the funding. This is a $1 billion museum, right? And the lead funder on this is Japan.
That I had not seen.
Yes. So the lead funder on this is the Japan International Cooperation Agency. It gave $800 million US. Well, and 2 loans. And it's because it's this cooperation project between Egypt and Japan, where they have this long history of cooperating. They are like the #1 in the world on conservation and restoration of artifacts and objects. And so they teamed up with Egypt. They really wanted, it's sort of like what we used to do, soft diplomacy, when they sort of like, came in and were like, we can help you, and it's not just, we're not just going to give you money, we're going to teach classes, we're going to help you with research, we're going to do all of these things to have sort of a foothold in this part of the world, but also to understand the importance of these artifacts and the importance of what this meant to Egypt and to bring it to Egypt. So I was fascinated by that.
Yeah. I mean, 5.4 million square feet, the size of like 90 football fields. Impossible to do in a day. As you said, Jared, the photos, I want to go. That was my initial reaction. It looks absolutely stunning. And you were just talking earlier, kind of half jokingly, Lisa, about, Miss Piggy and like stick with it. But I love the fact that, this project, which is 20 plus years in the making, as you said, they were very ambitious at the start, and despite the fact that there was a revolution and a counter-revolution and a pandemic, they maintained that ambition, and I just really hope this pays off. I think the other thing you read about the opening that I think is really poignant is, one of the bets here is that it's going to be an anchor for tourism and be good for the Egyptian economy, which it looks like it will be, and I hope it is. But also, the opening day had tons of people from Egypt coming, and as a point of pride, I mean, let's not forget, Egypt is the first real great civilization. I mean, this stuff that is there, so that time period when the pyramids went up, that was like 4,000 plus years ago. I mean, that's so long ago, and the amazing things that happened there. And it's there, at home, where it belongs. And I think that's incredible.
Well, it's a really extraordinary story in that they had to hold fast to do this because there has been so much criticism of Egypt over the year, especially for its own collections.
Right.
Your country is too disrupted. There is too much protest. You can't guarantee security. They did have that rather negative story about knocking off part of King Tut's mask and then taking essentially crazy glue and gluing it back together so nobody would see.
And the move is like, you should keep it all here. We've got our security down pat.
We're great. We have great security.
But they kept focused on this. I had the fortune of being in Cairo a number of years ago, and I went to the predecessor to this museum, and it was cramped quarters. It was difficult to navigate. Everything was kind of compressed. You weren't nearly seeing the volume of objects that you see here. But not unlike what Greece has done with the Acropolis Museum. Greece being another country that has been criticized over the years. You have too much conflict. You don't know how to maintain your materials. You need climate control. Blah 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 blah. They have answered all of those complaints with this extraordinary array where, by the way, as we're talking about King Tut for a moment, they are putting literally everything from his tomb on view
all
in this
room.
room.
All of those ceramics, all those mugs, all those, everything.
The sarcophagus, the mask, everything is going on display. There will be nothing in storage. You could spend probably days alone just experiencing that.
Items in
Exactly. I was looking at the square footage. It's just slightly less of what the Art of the Americas wing is here at the Museum of Fine Arts.
Oh, wow.
And so this calls another question to the fore about what needs to go back to Egypt at this point, now that they can demonstrate they have an extraordinary museum with state-of-the-art technology that can exhibit all of these works. And already over the weekend, the Netherlands returned a 3,500-year-old bust because they recognized that it was unlawfully obtained. So this will continue the repatriation conversation that the global world is having.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is one of the biggest parts of this, right? Because one of the biggest parts is the heritage and the research that is a part of this museum that I talked about before, and that yes, that now they can't say, well, you can't have it. We can keep better care of it that you can. So this repatriation is going to start happening. Those issues around colonialism and museum ethics and all of those sorts of things are starting to come, bubble up because right now we have it. You can't say we can't do it, and I think it's such a great piece of pride for the Egyptian people, and it's just amazing. I really want to go see it.
The three of us, I also desperately want to see it. It's funny because people may not realize this, but when you're driving to the pyramids, you have this vision that they're out in the desert, far off, and you need to take a camel there or a plane there. It's really kind of at the end of a strip mall. So I'm hoping, it's really funny. What you drive by before you reach it, and they really kind of abut where the pyramids begin. It's hilarious because they never show you that in the photographs. No. But I think that the orientation of this museum will change that whole experience. So that in and of itself is really fantastic.
You mean all those National Geographic pictures that I was seeing of pyramids were wrong?
Carefully cropped.
They're all close-ups. Well, moving to Germany now, where in Dusseldorf, one museum has found a more surly way to draw a crowd. It's turned hospitality on its head with the Grumpy Guide Tour. It features a docent who scolds visitors, mocks their ignorance, and openly wishes they'd stayed home. It's all performance art, a misanthropic take on museum culture that's made rudeness a runaway success. This is really hilarious. So this isn't an actual guide who's gone rogue, but it is a performance artist who, in his very meta way, is taking on museum culture and in a very strange way, too, kind of toying with people's ignorance in a way to get them more engaged in art. I think, not having taken the tour, but reading about what he's doing, it sounds like really fun. It's really fun, but also very fascinating.
Yes, I mean, and you can't see it. You can't go on the tour because he sold. Because he doesn't insult people individually, he only insults the group. But
so stick close to your buddy.
Stick close to your buddy. I think it's just another way for museums to use something to draw new folks into the museum, new generations, whatever. But I think it's he went into a whole character backstory. He's created this person who's, they realize that, he's wounded. He has some sorts of sense of personal pride. There are all these sort of issues with him. But, I think it's savvy. I think it's a great way to do this. Some people find it really funny. Other people are like, oh, this is so insulting. I would never do this. But, museums are looking for ways to attract other visitors. And so I was reading too that the Stuttgart's House of History hosts nudist evenings in their museum, and that there's another museum that has a socks only night where you just come and be
just in socks.
Just in socks.
That's it.
So
I think socks and other things, but no shoes.
Oh no, yeah, socks.
It's not full on Stuttgart nudism.
but just socks. You can leave your shoes at the door. But I just think it's a way that they're just trying to think of new ways to get people in. But he apparently is very funny.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a great bit. There's a few things. One, the tour is 70 minutes, and I do feel like that's a long time for the bit to be going on, But he definitely, it seems, there's, and he's talked about this, there's a history of this, think about those restaurants like,
Durgan Park.
Yeah, where they
well, that's where they got the idea, right, from? Yeah.
Which is great. I do love, I mean, he definitely has a sense of how to make it work, because you were talking about he doesn't insult anybody directly, just kind of their general ignorance, which in group dynamics, it's sort of exactly right, because everybody is thinking to themselves, oh, the person next to me is the person who's ignorant, right? They don't realize that they're also part of the joke necessarily, or it gives you that distance. But I think the other thing here is two things. One, this is the museum is in on this, right? So he's hired by the museum, and I think they say as part of this tour, it sort of starts where, he's kind of setting up his character and insulting the people, but he turns on the museum and the curators as if they don't know what they're doing and they don't understand what's real art, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that part is very shrewd on the museum's part, because I think one of the things that keep people from museums is they think that they're inaccessible or overly precious.
Right.
And the fact that you have somebody who sort of goes after the curators, goes after the collectors, it gives you a sense of safety and openness and all of that stuff. It's very smart by the museum to do that, and kudos to them for allowing it to happen, because I could see a lot of places get a little skittish if somebody's going to like poke at them.
So bonus here if you speak German, because we're going to give you a little bit of a sense of his tour, because again, we can't sign on to it until May. Here we go with the Grumpy Guides tour.
Lassen Sie sich eins gesagt sein. Wenn man Kunst neben Trödel hängt, wird der Trödel nicht zur Kunst.
He's trying to decipher what that means in his tone in German, but what he was saying, the English translation of that is, let me tell you one thing, if you hang art next to a drum, the drum will not become art. I mean, this man has something to say about everything and everyone, and you shouldn't, well, he said he's only criticizing the group. If you sit down or check your phone,
oh, forget it.
You're done. You're toast.
You're a target. I love his opening line. He says, my name is Langneck, and I wait for no one.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Apparently you have to be in good physical shape, because he moves
at
breakneck speed
the whole thing
through the museum.
I would totally take this tour. Would you take this tour?
I probably would.
Yes, I think so.
I don't know why I just hesitated.
Yeah,
that's funny. That was kind of revealing to myself that I just hesitated there.
Of course you would.
I would absolutely take it.
Well, if only our next story was performance art, because we're moving to Paris now for the museum heist story that just keeps giving while the stolen crown jewels still haven't been given back. We learned this week that the Louvre Museum's surveillance password was, wait for it, Louvre, a striking flaw revealed in its recent security audit. Well, I guess the good news is that all of these things are going to be exposed now, so hopefully something like this does not happen again, but this just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. As this security audit was released this week, yes, we learned that the Louvre's password was Louvre. We also learned that the rooftop was very accessible, especially in times of construction. We learned that they had massively outdated security software, and these are security lapses that go back some 11 years.
2014.
So, as I asked the former Paris bureau chief of the New York Times on the show last week, was this inevitable? Maybe not inevitable, but it seems like how could this not have happened at some point?
I mean, it's and it's so funny because remember we talked about this, that Louvre was also the name of the town where they stole the bucket truck from.
Right.
So this is a common theme I'm seeing here. But I mean, it's true. The thing too is that they still haven't found the jewels. Like you're picking up people, you're arresting people, but we haven't still seen them. But yeah, no security standards. It was flagged years ago, and they said that the museum prioritized acquisitions, renovations, and exhibitions over security. Now I don't know whether that's just hubris or something, and that only 39% of the rooms in the Louvre have CCTV. I mean, and here you are saying we're a very secure museum. Give us your stuff.
Yeah,
we'll all be.
We can take care of your stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, listen, I think it is I'm sure, a daunting task to like administer and keep a museum up and running.
That's your responsibility.
With the funding issues that I think, even in Europe, we know that these big museums have funding issues. So it's, you do probably have to, make decisions and priorities. I mean, for me, it's just everything about this. The movie that will eventually come just keeps getting better. Like the Louvre password thing is really funny. Also, one of the suspects that has been picked up, it turns out, was like a minor.
Yes.
He was like they classified him as a minor star on social media, but his whole thing was like being on motorbikes, including the kind of motorbike that he escaped in. So that's kind of, or allegedly, I should say, escaped in, allegedly involved. He's
Springing off your point about what museums are facing, what both of you were discussing, just yesterday on the Culture Show, we were speaking with Director of Security and the Chief Investigator, Anthony Amore, at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, because he has a fabulous new book out called The Rembrandt Heist about a theft of a Rembrandt in the 1970s in Boston. But I also took the opportunity to ask him, as somebody who is steeped in museum security, especially at the Gardner, because of course those paintings also have yet to be returned, really what our understanding should be of this heist.
The Louvre theft was a news hook. If the Louvre theft hadn't happened, the other 4 thefts that have happened in France in the last 6 weeks or so, no one would have heard of them. These things happen all the time. It's an opportunity in a dark episode for me to remind people, museums are not cash rich. They need your support. Security doesn't pay for itself. The Louvre is being criticized right now. There's a report that says they spent 4 times as much on acquiring art than they did on security in recent years, and they're being attacked for that. Well, I think a lot of museums would probably hoping no one ever hears their figures. I think that's probably true of a lot of museums, and they're not cash rich. You can't really criticize them for this.
And what actually prompted me to ask him about that was in his book, he points out this string of robberies in our area, in Newton, in Harvard, and the MFA in the 1970s. So it does happen frequently.
And I understand that, but you have to spend money on exhibitions because that's what's going to bring people in, right? So there's this balancing act. I mean, I think that's really interesting because it's true. Because in September of 2025 at the National History Museum in Paris, there were gold samples that were stolen, 600,000 euros. You know, so it's true. We don't hear about that. So maybe this is going to elevate that conversation and the conversation around security and the conversation about what museums need and the patronage that it needs.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, you hope.
Yeah, we can certainly hope. Well, from the City of Lights to the City of Brotherly Love in Philadelphia, the art world's having a bit of an identity crisis. The one-time Philadelphia Museum of Art fired its CEO just weeks after she launched a $250,000 rebrand, changing the institution's name to the Philadelphia Art Museum. The move came amid lagging attendance and ongoing financial shortfalls. Edgar, you have a good perspective on this as our Philadelphia man and with ties to the museum.
Yeah, full disclosure, I did used to work at the Philadelphia Museum of Art, so and still have some loose ties to folks there. Yeah, this is a tricky. So we have some photos. If you're down here at the library, if you're watching on the stream, you can see a little bit of the rebrand. You know, rebrands, right? I mean, who wants to be rebranding anything in 2025 right now? It sounds like
Cracker Barrel museums or otherwise.
Yeah, so the rebrand did not necessarily go well. It sounds like for a few reasons. One, I think some people had some reactions to the aesthetics of it. Philadelphia can be a bit of a parochial place, and the fact that they used a design firm from Brooklyn rather than somebody local to do it, I think got some people a little bit upset as well. It's not clear whether this is the reason or the only reason why this firing has happened. I think that's important to say. It sounds like that the board of the museum, while read in on aspects of the redesign, were taken by surprise when it actually launched. Sounds like maybe that was not the best move. Also, there's issues with fundraising. Also, there's issues at that museum right now with attendance. They are not back up to where they were pre-pandemic. They're still working with a bit of a cut staff. They have not resumed staffing levels or hours back to where they were pre-pandemic. So I think this, you know, the rebrand thing, I think thinking about just in literally what we were talking about with the crazy, you know, tours at this museum. I think everybody's scrambling to figure out how to get people in the doors. And I think in some ways that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing that museums, including large encyclopedic ones, are trying. They at least get the message that in order to like survive, we have to be a little bit more present in people's lives. And I think it's just, you're going to have missteps along the way, and it seems like in Philadelphia this was one.
I mean, I think this isn't just this museum. I think it's happening in a lot of museums. There's this like trend where boards are becoming more like corporate boards and not being, you know, advisory boards in a sense. They're really changing from their fundraising responsibilities and their advisory abilities because they have to raise money, right? And so they're being much more involved in the day-to-day workings of museums, which they shouldn't necessarily be. So I think for her, she thinks of herself as more of a vision-forward person and not a consensus-driven person, and that the board was really upset that they didn't find out about or didn't have as much, involvement in this rebrand, and then donors were upset because they heard about the change when the public heard about it, and that's where the rubber hits the road, right? When you have your donors who are at their beloved museum, and that's what they're supporting, and if they're upset, then you're going to lose that. You're going to lose that funding, and it becomes a real issue.
For an historic institution, I just don't know what a name change gets you.
Right.
Really, you get people back in the doors because of content, whether it's a theater or it's a museum, it's the shows. So it seems that's where their focus should be. Well, coming up, Tom Brady's latest comeback isn't on the field; it's in the lab, cloning his dearly departed dog for a genetic replay. That and more is next on The Culture Show. Stay with us.
The Kyoto Protocol was a landmark international treaty that got most UN member states to acknowledge climate change and set goals to reduce emissions. A play dramatizing the deal-making behind it just debuted in the US.
The set is designed as a sort of UN table, and we wanted to invite audiences to take a seat at the table.
That story, next time on The World.
This afternoon at 3, here on GBH News 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And Safety Insurance, offering auto insurance policies designed to help for when the worst happens. You can ask an independent agent about safety insurance. Safety Insurance will help you manage life's storms. And the Delaney at the Vale, a luxury senior living rental community for adults 62 plus, committed to providing residents a lifestyle shaped by choice and connection, allowing for a personalized retirement experience. DelaneyAtTheVale.com. And Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, working to drive breakthrough ocean science and technology for a healthier world. You can learn about the campaign for our ocean planet at whoi.edu.
GBH News is your home for trusted local news. Get it at 89.7 on the radio, gbhnews.org, and subscribe to the GBH News YouTube channel. GBH News, what matters to you.
I'm Jared Bowen. If you're just tuning in, it's our Arts and Culture Week in Review. I'm joined by co-hosts Edgar B. Horwick III and Culture Show contributor Lisa Simmons. She's program manager at Mass Cultural Council and artistic and executive director of the Roxbury International Film Festival. We're tracking the latest headlines, including Tom Brady, whose newest play has him in the doghouse with ethicists and animal advocates. The former quarterback revealed his new dog is a clone of his recently deceased one. It's created through the Colossal Biosciences, a company in which he invests. The firm's push to resurrect extinct species has already stirred debate over how far science should go in recreating life, from pets to prehistoric creatures. I might surprise you all by saying I'm not that troubled by this. This isn't, of course, the first time we've heard about this.
No.
Barbara Streisand talked about it in her memoir, and Paris Hilton talked about it in hers. I think the way we learned about it is a little gross, because this is all about drumming up publicity for this company, which just bought another one that does this. But this is where science is moving. I personally wouldn't do it myself, because you have to have the memory of your dog and its personality, and I'm a person who grew up with a ton of pets. Clearly the dog isn't going to be the same dog.
No.
But and I do definitely see the point of the animal advocates who say adoption is the way to go.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, I think that, when you have millions of shelter dogs, all around the country that are looking for a home, I understand it's an emotional thing. You're connected to that animal, but it's not the same. It has this dog, Junie, I think it is, has the exact same makeup, the exact same DNA, but the personality is different, just like any person, right?
Yeah.
But I think the real elephant in the room is, why aren't they cloning Tom Brady?
You don't think that this is
why his dog?
This is a dry run. This is
a dry run.
obviously
Okay.
a dry run.
Good.
He's invested in this company.
Yeah, so now
he definitely, I don't know
right,
Tom
good.
Brady, but he seems like the type who would be
There
down
you
to
go.
clone
Okay,
himself. No, I mean, I like, it's so funny because my initial reaction to this is to want to dunk on Tom Brady for doing this, But there, honestly, people and their pets, no matter how you feel, people have that thing with their pets.
Yeah.
And it is slightly, I think it's a little bit naive, but there is something sweet in that idea of somebody who can't let go of their pets so much that they want to clone them and kind of even think that that's at all going to be like what their pet was.
I
Because
know.
that's the real thing, is it's not. It's just the DNA. It's not, that pet doesn't know you. I hope he knows that pet's not going to know him, right? That it doesn't come with the memory.
You can send that email, because I'm not
It
going to send
doesn't
that
come
email.
with the memories. There's no chip. You can't
No.
okay.
But this is also the group that's trying to bring back the woolly mammoth,
Yes.
and
The
the
dire
dodo
wolves,
bird.
right?
It claims
They
it brought the wolves
did
back,
the
but people
dire
are
wolves
saying
thing? Yes.
that they're not really. I should say that our well, maybe I'm not going to repeat what the control room is telling me. I don't want to get in trouble.
Now I want to know what the control
That
room
he should
is
have done that
telling you.
earlier. One to clone himself. He should have done that earlier. One to stay at home with the kids
I
and
know.
Giselle. One to go die on the
I was
field
gonna
in
say
Tampa Bay.
I was going to say
Singer.
that he cloned his dog because he lost Giselle. So
Well,
he needed
yeah. So
something to hold
with this
on
will
to
be
in that
followed. I mean, he
relationship.
has many years to perfect the Tom Brady cloning. Well, on to another local legend in Dorchester. Savin Bar and Kitchen stirred up old ghosts when they hung up a giant mugshot of mob bosses and mob boss and convicted killer Whitey Bulger in their restaurant. After backlash over glorifying violence, the photograph has been disappeared. So this got a lot of attention.
Yeah.
So Dorchester, of course, is home to where Whitey Bulger committed many of his crimes, and this is not the so distant past. So you have a situation where throughout South Boston and Dorchester, you have people who were largely affected by those crimes still very much in the neighborhood. So when they saw this, speaking of rebrands, this basic rebrand of this restaurant after Gordon Ramsay's television show came in and suggested they needed to spice the place up by putting up mobster photographs, a lot of people were really, really offended, and I think legitimately so. So the restaurant finally saw the error of its ways and removed them.
No, I think it's an incredibly poor taste. I think you're right. I mean, and especially when you have neighborhoods that are trying to reshift and rebrand themselves, so to speak, about who they are, and so then to bring back this incredible negative history and really brutal history of a person who was just terrorized that neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so I think they did the right thing. I think that's part of it, right? Is listening to what people are saying and then correct that. And so now
it should have been corrected sooner. In my estimation. In my early days at GBH, I did a lot of reporting with Emily Rooney on the Whitey Bulger saga, and those crimes were so horrific. How can you not understand what these neighbors must be feeling?
But that's not understanding, right? That's not understanding the culture and where you are. Just like thinking, oh, this will be fun and this will be funny when.
Yeah, no, and it's also like I'm sure I've said it on this show because I say it all the time. It's like there is no such thing as too soon anymore in the internet world that we live in. But to some extent, I'm heartened by this story because I think it does remind me and it reminds us that there is still a difference between the life, quote unquote, that you are living on the internet and actual physical real life. And I think when something like this comes to being in a physical space in the neighborhood where this stuff was happening and people who actually have a connection to that are pushing back. Eventually, as you said, Jared, the right thing eventually got done. But it is a reminder that, there is a difference between what we do on the internet and what we do in our real lives.
Well, this means it's time for our lightning round. These are the stories that caught our attention this week. I started to say this week. Lisa's week. Tell us what's yours.
Okay, now we've been waiting for this and waiting for this. It's the Michael Jackson biopic has dropped its new trailer. Woo. Okay, we're talking about music, and this has taken so long to get done. It's actually coming out in 2026, the filming in April. Antoine Fuqua is the director of this. They went back and forth with the estate over and over again about this film because they didn't want to portray the sort of like the negative, horrible things that have been in the internet and social media about Michael Jackson, but really focus on his legacy and who he was as an entertainer. I mean, some of that might come in, but I think what's really interesting too is that his nephew is playing him. Jermaine Jackson's son is actually playing Michael Jackson. So I think everyone's been looking for it. We've got Coleman Domingo who's in it, who plays Joe Jackson, Nia Long, Lawrence Tate, Kat Graham is going to be Diana Ross. I mean, everyone is we're waiting for this. It's going to be exciting.
Edgar, what's yours?
Well, I'll get to mine in a second. I just want to note, we were talking about album art earlier.
Yes,
we think about Thriller, that cover of Thriller and the inside fold where he's got Anyway, so mine is, speaking of stick to it to the very end, Sagrada Familia, 143 years worth of building, and this week it finally became the tallest church in the world. So the central spire, which has been going up and is set to be finished a little bit later this year, finally rose high enough that it is now the tallest church in the world, which since something like 1830 had been some church in Germany. So it is the tallest church in the world. Construction on the building itself is supposed to be finished this year, which is the 100th anniversary of Gaudi's death. But, again, talk about sticking with it. The fact that Spain has continued to build this edifice in the direction that he wanted it, I think is an incredible achievement, and they're really close to being there, so it's cool.
And the one that caught my attention this week is the Jimmy Kimmel Live Big Beautiful Food Bank. We know what's happening in this country right now with the government shutdown. We know that there is wrestling back and forth between the administration and judges, or at least one judge in particular here in New England, who is saying you need to be funding SNAP payments and putting food out there for people who are not receiving it because of the government shutdown. Jimmy Kimmel went live this week on their own backlot with his big, beautiful food bank. And as he's pointed out, you don't have to be in Los Angeles to do this. Right. We certainly have our food banks here and in and around Massachusetts and all throughout New England. So it's an opportunity to remind people that in this moment where the government is still trying to get its act together on all sides and getting food out to people, that we can step forward, those of us who are fortunate enough to do that, and go to our local food banks and help out in that way.
Thank you for that, Jared.
That is all for this edition of The Culture Show. Tune in Monday for James Beard Award-winning cookbook author Dory Greenspan. We'll also be joined by some of the descendants of David Drake, the enslaved potter whose stoneware vessels were recently returned to his family by the MFA. Thanks today to our engineer Bill Piacitelli and Culture Show intern Avery Morin, the BPL technical and logistics crew, Maddie Geyer, Bill Francis, Sandra Lopez-Burke, Juan Jose Cadena, Chris Hanks, Pat Lally, Olivia Corshio. Also thanks to the Lennox Hotel, to the Newsfeed Cafe. Thank you to everyone who came down here to be with us at the library today. We love seeing you. Thank you. I'm Jared Bowen, joining you in drowning our sorrows in yet another year of not being selected the sexiest man alive. But try to rally and have an art-filled weekend.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.